give your perspectives on things, and we might even be able to go into the commander builds, or at least some of the suggested commander builds. I'm going to share with you guys a spreadsheet in chat, and this is the spreadsheet that we're going to be talking about, working off of, that sort of thing, and I do have it up and ready to go. So let me check up on...
It's yours, right? Yeah.
Yes, and yours is linked, and I know that you've updated yours as well, right?
Yeah, mine is updated as far as the skill names. I've changed a couple of builds. I added links to Vows FT with the full build, with ship models and so for ships I have played enough to feel confident in the build.
Fair enough.
The 07 community also has their own captain spreadsheet.
I think a lot of us are kind of building up our ideas, right? And putting those together. All right, so I guess we can start off with Mark already saying, are those changes permanent? It seems the game will become even more Sniper Fest than it was before. I guess you're talking about the skill Deadeye, and maybe we should start by talking about Deadeye and get that out of the way. You guys agree?
We should do that first.
Okay. Disclaimer, the views that I share are the views of myself and not Wargaming, and the same thing with everybody else that's here in our panel and chat and Discord. We are all players of this game, and those are our ideas. So... Grunty, Toxic, either one of you guys want to lead us off with your opinion?
Well, I guess I start. I've played maybe 15 to 20 games since the patch, so not too many. And I think the biggest effect this whole rework thing had is it changed the meta. And without talking about a specific skill, I don't like the meta it has become.
Okay.
It's boring. It feels stale.
Fair enough.
I think the meta has been changed by false perceptions of skills and how they work, more so than any individual skill itself. And I don't know if there's an easy way to fix any of that without just saying, oh, look, it's not there, go back to playing not like, well, how you are.
So, one thing that I think it's important to note, the question, is this a permanent change? It's a permanent change to the game in terms of the way that the skills work. Is it a permanent change to the skills themselves? I highly doubt it. Wargaming is putting together a bunch of skills, they're trying something new, and quite frankly, a lot of these skills that require something to trigger or activate are either too powerful or too weak, and that makes perfect sense because they've never been tried before. I want you to think about this. These are skills that are almost like an extension of the legendary commanders, right? That require certain conditions to activate. The same thing happens here, of course. It's not as impactful because they are skills that any captain can take, right?
Yeah, Lazar was asked to link my spreadsheet in chat. Can you permit me, please?
Yeah. Let's see. How can I do that? VIP? Yes. Boom. You're already a VIP. You should be able to link it.
VIP can? Okay, cool.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. So that's something to keep in mind. Also keep in mind that the commander skills comes from a whole bunch of other things. As Mustang said, and we talked about last weekend before the patch even hit, the important thing is linking your captains to tech tree ships. And on my spreadsheet on page 2, we've done that, and not for every ship out there, of course, but for the special captains, we put down where they could work well. And I want to highlight for a moment, one of the really cool parts about this rework is that I can now take Kuznetsov, I can put him on a Kremlin, and then I could take him and put him on Neustrashimi, and I can build out a destroyer build for Kuznetsov on the Nostroshimi. And then I can throw him back on Kremlin, and he still has the battleship build. And then I can take Kuznetsov and take him from the Kremlin and put him on the Azure Lane Soviet Rossiya. I think that's how it's called, right? The premium tier 9. Or I could put him on the Lenin. And boom, he's still a battleship captain. And then I could take him and I could throw him on the Moskva. And guess what? Now he's a Moskva captain, and now you can spec out cruiser skills for him too. So one thing that I love about this is Wargaming does not need to come out with legendary captains for each class of ship. Now, destroyer, cruiser, battleship carrier, and possibly that elusive 5th class, the submarine. Now you can take that special captain and put him on at least premium ships of each of those different classes, which means you get so much more mileage out of those special captains. I'm so excited with Lutyens. I put him on the Z52, and now I can throw him on the Munchen, I can throw him on the Mainz, I can throw him wherever the heck I want, maybe even the Eugen, right? I can put him on battleships too and have fun with them on battleships, and then of course I can put him on the Graf Zeppelin and enjoy his capabilities on the Graf Zeppelin as well.
Yeah, that's great. I did that. Was working on all the different classes, getting it procced on every single one. That's amazing.
Grumpy Shark, Wargaming did not forget to set distinctives, they just made it harder to notice. Let me drop the spreadsheet thing for a second, and if I go to my commanders here, and then I go to change commander, the special captains have a star in front of their name. And I think their background looks a little bit different than everybody else's too. That's it. Versus that stripe that we're all used to seeing, right? On the old way.
Yeah, but you only see it here. You don't see it when the captain is actually on the ship. That's the
Yeah, it's
problem.
kind of lame.
Yeah. The other specials? Well, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. Let me pick a different group. Let's go New Orleans, change commander. And we've got
He's
that
talking
one.
about buffed skills, right? Like buffed
Well-
expert marksman or something like this.
Yeah, he's talking about the unique captains, not like the other unique captains, not the super captains.
Right.
Like Ovechkin, for example, or John Doe. I guess that's what he's
Right.
talking about.
But they do have a star. It's not the same color as Halsey's. Because it's not a unique or not a legendary. And the background is different as well in color. It's just so much more subtle. It's just hard for you to notice. And you know, I don't fault you for not seeing it. I mean, my first ever support ticket to Wargaming was during closed beta, and I was upset because I sold a ship, and in the process of selling the ship, I spent doubloons. No, I bought a ship, and in the process of buying a ship, I spent doubloons, and I didn't know I was spending doubloons to buy it. Even though it said, do you want to spend these doubloons? And I was so frustrated because in my mind, I buy ship, I hit yes, buy ship, and I don't think, do I want a captainot? Do I want a port slot with it? And so my first ever support ticket to Wargaming in closed beta was, how dare you guys do this? I don't like it. I didn't notice it. I want my doubloons back. And they actually gave me my doubloons back. This is closed beta before they even wiped everyone's accounts.
Is now following.
Which is pretty ridiculous.
There is a visible thing, even on John Doe. Like, don't
Right
you
there.
see that star right in front of his
It's
name
so
in the list?
obvious.
Yeah,
There's a
right?
star and a blue background.
Right, you see the background, and then it even says seasoned commander, but again, we don't...
But help you if you have some mod that changes your commander portraits, then you're just looking for a star.
Right. Right. So it's there, it's just... It's hard to see, and that is something that I would like to see Wargaming try to address, and it's very easy for them to address, right? To make it more obvious that they've got those extra abilities. And see, so again, Kuznetsov there, and then you can see the ones with the stars, and the background, of course, is different compared to everybody else. So it does do that. It's just, yeah.
I do agree. Like the banner they had before this stripe was way more obvious.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that stripe was also a little confusing because it had the same effect as the legendaries. So all three of them had the
Yes.
stripe. So I do like that now we have the ability to have that distinction. But there needs to, in my opinion, I would agree, there needs to be a little bit more something. And maybe where it says ship commander, maybe change it to legendary ship commander, right? And seasoned ship commander. I don't know. It would be nice to have more things there. Let's see. Right, make it more obvious. Exactly right, Grumpy. Is there a way to get access to the reserve directly without having to go to a ship and then reserve? No. No, you have to go to a ship and then go to reserve because when you go to when you go to the ship and then you go to the commander, what it does is it lists it loads up the commander skills for that class of ship, whether that be a cruiser like in this case or whatever. So if I were to go, I'm sorry?
It doesn't sort by class, it just shows the commanders of that nation that you
for
have.
3 months.
Right.
Hi all.
So like if I go to a battleship and if I go to a cruiser, you can see the same list. Now in this particular case, interestingly enough, you can see Znamensky has moved a little bit. Nope, he's still there. There must have been something different. I don't remember. But anyway, when you go to put a captain on a premium ship, like let's go ahead and put Kuznetsov, you can see how he's got all the skills that you then have to go and master again. You know, so whatever. But the other thing about the rework that is kind of nice is I can sit here and I can build this out, and then I can look at the top right and I can say, oh, all right, that's all 21 points. Is this what I want? Okay, cool. I'll master it. And then it says, do you want to do this? I'll say, yes, I want to do it. And then I said, oh, crap, wait a minute. I put him on the crown set and there's no torpedoes. Why did I do that? Now I can go and redistribute and spend a ton of doubloons.
Grumpy, you can do this on the left side of your commander if you click all skills. Maybe Sas can do this real quick. Then you will see the skills he has for the other classes.
Now, I would mention immediately my biggest gripe with this screen is you can't actually do anything from it, and making it so you could do things from the screen would fix a lot of the issue.
Yeah, you can only see it. You can't change it or do something with it, but you can look at it.
Yep. So, I just want to make sure you guys are, if you've got any other questions before we get into specific skills and stuff like that, about how the rework works and how skills work and ideas to maximize your benefit with these commanders, please ask. As you guys can see, we've already talked through some of the things that a lot of people didn't know existed. It was there in the game the whole time, but you didn't know, and we can't fault you for that because nobody told you about it. Warp Speed, Mr. Scott. Hey. Thank you for the follow. Also, thank you, Shane Deuce, for the sub, and Elvic Roy, thank you, and Dysphoric Smile, thank you for the follow.
How's everybody doing today?
Fine, Shane, fine. Patch me in my commander spreadsheet have infinitely more value. Yes.
I want to say first off, at first I hated the commander rework, but I have sit down and decided it's an opportunity for me to
Masada gifted
better.
A diving Harrier a subscription,
and in a different way.
Masada gifted 3 months of tier 1 to a diving Harrier.
Me to
They've gifted
get
3
out
months
of my
in the channel.
zone. And it took me a couple of days of ranting and raving and raising, but I've changed my mind. And you know, Wargaming has done this to get us out of our comfort, and we should take a opportunity. It's like, I got the Flint. I know it only has a 11.1 kilometer range, but you know what? I make the most of it. And I love the ship. I play it over my my Atlanta any day.
So,
and it's only got a 10-point commander in her right now, and it's just, the ship's crazy good.
So I will say, you know, I think one of the
diving Harrier is now following.
Masada, thank you for the gifted sub, by the way, and a diving Harrier, thank you for the follow. I will say that one of the things I think is problematic here, and we saw this with the Puerto Rico last year? We saw this with the Puerto Rico event.
last year.
There wasn't enough information prior to the event starting. And even while the event was on, there wasn't enough information that was out there. And as a result, what happened was players got scared. There was fear. They didn't understand what was coming up. And you can't blame the players for that. I told Wargaming, and this is something that I will gladly blast Wargaming on every chance I get, is that the information that came to players didn't exist. Okay? Now, in Wargaming's opinion, that information existed. It existed in 5 different dev blog articles, plus what was posted on the worldofwarships.com website, plus what their people said on stream. Now, I want you to stop and think about that for a second, guys. One of my things I told Wargaming is, I am not a tax accountant, I am a player. I don't want to go and pull up all these different pieces of information and put it all together. I want to play the game and have fun. That's what it is. Iron Meals, there you go. Do you think casual players can do this? I know you're talking about the dockyard, but it works for this too, right? I'm a player. I want to come in and I want to just know what is the most up-to-date information right now. What's out there? How does it work? And I don't know that. And that was the thing that really bothered me, was that there was absolutely no information that went along with this rework. Grunty, I need to call you out because you were so helpful last week on, what was that, Monday. We sat down and we spent 3 hours going through that spreadsheet and just changing the freaking names on that spreadsheet. And then also some of the different characteristics.
And we did it again on patch day because the names freaking changed again, right?
And then we did it again on patch day, right? And then Toxic, thank you so much, Toxic. I was working, I couldn't go to my spreadsheet, so Toxic went and he put all the names in, and we all just laughed and groaned as we were, making those changes. But I mean, like, that information needed to come out. There needed to be a spreadsheet that was up to date with, here's what it's going to be. When you log in tomorrow, here's what's going to happen. And that didn't come out to players. And that, to me, is the most frustrating part about this whole rework. And the fact that it sounded like Wargaming was expecting the community contributors to be the ones to post all that information and put that out there. On the one hand, I get it. It makes sense. And sure, I'll do it. I invested 6-7 hours of my life on a holiday, a day off, to do that. But at the same time, there were a lot of other things I could have done. So I think that's the part where my personal frustration lies with this rework. Toxic said earlier in chat, I don't know if you caught it, it was he likes the rework itself, but not the economics behind it. And I completely agree with that. Iron Mios, you saw my post on Discord and my video and you thought you'll check it out after the patch hits. And that was, guys, I so apologize. I couldn't get that out to you guys beforehand. It took so long to put everything together and then to record everything and then to upload it and have it processed. It was unfortunate that you only had 1 day lead time for those of you North America, and I apologize for that. I wish I could have gotten that out to you sooner, but it is what it is, and now we're kind of stuck with it. So. Any other questions about the rework that you want to ask about before we delve into specific skills? Loop the tubes. Meat Pinman, totally agree on the economics. 1.2 million free XP for the last 2 commander points is ridiculous, and it absolutely is. And
for reference, the 0 to 19 captain requires 1.7 million EXP.
And then to go from 19 to 20 to 21, it's 1.2 million. So to gain those last 2 points.
Kind of good thing here is you don't necessarily need 21 point captains on all builds.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many builds where your last point or your last 2 points is, I don't want to say worthless, but gives you such a small benefit that it's probably just not worth it investing 1.2 million commander XP for it.
21.
So, my Minnow captain was a 16-point commander. 16 points invested, and the rest of it was like, what do I spend them on? Stuff I don't need.
Sohn streamed yesterday with Happa and with Seven, one of the new CCs. He forgot to hit apply after he spec'd out his Hindenburg captain. He did fantastic in the game with his 0-point captain. Guys, the skills are nice, but you don't 100% need them. And you guys are exactly right. You don't need 21 points. For those of you guys who feel like you need to have a 21-point captain to be competitive, you absolutely do not. For the most part, you need about either 10 or 14, depending on the ship. Now, some will require a little bit more. It's one of the things that I like about Grunty's spreadsheet, is he took the time to write down the minimum points necessary and the maximum points to utilize various ships and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't even minimum points for every ship if it was really just working with 10 points, because I didn't feel the need to put 10 in every single column.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have some of them where I said, okay, this is a really min-maxed build, and if you don't have a maximum point commander, don't even try that build.
Right.
Or like if I say, okay, I'm playing ranked, don't go into ranked without at least having 10 points, right?
Right. Now,
but even
go
then,
ahead.
10 points is kind of enough.
So, I'm seeing some things on here. People are asking this, why? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with chat. You guys are typing quickly, and I apologize. I'm missing some things. Can we expect buff nerf on these skills as they are now? Absolutely, Fanto. I would not be surprised to see some of these skills change, especially the ones, like I said, that require activations, because, quite frankly, people don't know how they work, and I don't think Wargaming themselves knew exactly how they were going to work. I mean, of course, they coded in a certain way and they test it out and they play, but they don't know how it's going to impact on the live servers when it hits, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see them change. Can you move a special commander between ships without spending doubloons or credits? A special commander between premium ships, yes. Between tech tree ships, no. A tech tree ship, you tie that commander to a tech tree ship, and that's their home. So right now, Kuznetsov is trained for the Kremlin. If I were to take Kuznetsov and let's say I want to change commander, I'm gonna put Kuznetsov on. Now, if you didn't do this before the patch hits, you still have time to do this for cheap. Okay, I want this out there right now, because 50 doubloons is hella cheap right now to move Kuznetsov onto another ship. But after this patch is done, I believe it's the duration of the patch, after this patch is over, that goes away from 50 doubloons, and that changes to something redonkulous.
They've also been giving us
should be
doubloons,
500.
It becomes 500, right. So, and then if you want to retrain, on top of that, like you want to respec your captain, oh, that's expensive. So
700 was for the respec.
So
if the retraining to a different ship stays at 500.
Can you say that again? Because Grunty, you were cutting out.
I said the 700 doubloons that was mentioned in chat, I think it's 750, and that is for changing the skills of the captain. The retraining to a different ship stays at 500.
Right. Masada says, concealment is really the only thing that is kind of needed for an easier game for most ships. Masada, you are damn right. That's why I said 10 points is really what you want. SCT says, for clan battles, you probably want 21 points. If you're going to min-max, if you're going to be super competitive, then of course you want 21 points. Right, SAT? Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and even then, it's mainly at the higher leagues. If you're at, like, Squall Gale, it really doesn't matter.
It also depends what ship you're talking about. Like, it gets pretty specific.
Jolly69 says, oh my god, ranked at 10 points. Dude, have you seen people in ranked? Do you think it matters?
Ranked with 0. Like, it doesn't matter.
How many people do you think are playing?
The Bronze League you could easily.
You can do it in
Oh,
gold.
come on.
People play worse in gold.
Not even with
the
ship
ones.
commander.
You can do it in gold. You can do it.
You could absolutely do it in gold. The best league is silver. Like, better players are in silver than gold at this point. 100%.
Yep. So don't worry.
That's why I refuse to rank out in silver. I refuse to rank out silver. I'll stay in silver.
No, you rank out. You just don't do the promotions. Rank out because you get your stuff, but then you don't do the promotions, so you don't go to gold. You can still rank out though, because ranking out gets you in steel. It gets you steel, and I think it gets you coal, and it gets you camo, if I remember right, for Silver League. But how many people do you think right now are playing ranked? Like they literally logged in, they picked their ship, and they went go. And they didn't even know that the commander respec occurred. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because you have ships now that don't have concealment expert in ranked. You have ships that don't have, you know, other things that you're used to in ranked, and they're just playing and they don't even know that that's the case. Guys, one of the things that I think it's important we realize is that you all here, all 164 of you, plus the people in voice chat that are hanging out too, and myself, and all the people that are on the Discords. Think about everybody that's on every single Discord that you are a part of right now. Guys, that represents maybe 5% of the overall population for North America. Okay?
As you were asked to repost the link to your spreadsheet.
Oh, sure. Most people don't care about this game. Most people don't focus on learning this game. Most people log in and they see this as an opportunity to relax, to blow off some steam after a tough day at work, or get away from coronavirus, get away from everything else that's happening in their life right now, and they look at it as an opportunity to relax and enjoy something. And that's true for ranked battles, that's true for clan battles, that's true for any mode that you play. So you've got a ton of people that are just playing to relax and chill. They don't care about everything that's going down. And so when you look at them and you're like, you son of a bitch, you caused me to lose my game. Guess what, guys? They don't care. Okay? And this is something that I learned the hard way by going to all the player gatherings and stuff and understanding who's behind the computer. It's not somebody who's in their 30s or 20s like me. It's somebody who maybe is in their 50s or 60s. Or maybe it's somebody that's, 12 years old playing on dad's account. It doesn't matter, guys. What matters is what you, as an individual, can do, can accomplish. And I think that this rework has given you some opportunities that a lot of players haven't noticed because you're too busy fixating on the negative. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyways, that's my soapbox. I'll get off it for a little bit.
No, please continue.
Okay, then. No. All right, I'm just looking at the people complaining they didn't get free 21-point captains. Okay, the worst thing you could do from an economic standpoint, and Grunty, I apologize because I know you were planning on doing this. I don't know if you went through with it or not, but the worst thing you can do right now, in my opinion, is dismiss a whole bunch of your commanders.
Sixpack_Captain_Morgan is
Hold on.
now following.
Sixpack Captain Morgan, thank you for the follow. I love the name.
You're talking about not doing the Great Purge?
You can purge. Believe me, you can purge. When I started the patch overnight, I had less than 100 vacant spaces in my reserve, so I got rid of like 350 captains, guys. But those were captains that were 3 points or under. Why is this guy still here? Get out of here. And what I did was I just dismissed him for credit. I didn't do it for doubloons. Don't do it for doubloons, guys. Do it for credits. But only do the really cheap, low captains. Aurora I'm keeping because she's got a special voiceover, and if I want to, I can troll people at tier 1 with her because nobody understands what she's saying at tier 1, and they're like, who the heck do you have in captain? Same thing with the Santa. Although I should have put him on I put most of my Santas on carriers just because, Santa's giving gifts. Get it? Anyway. And then I kept my 10 pointers on hand just so that they're available for it.
Me. Sorry about that.
Bless you. I already fixed Paulo.
I went through with it. I dismissed a lot, but of course only for credits as well.
And the thing about that is when you dismiss for credits, let me go back to this 10. I don't want to risk.
You're making a net loss in Commander XP. If you ever need that captain again, you're losing out.
Yeah.
Just say it completely clear. That's what it is. If you dismiss a 19-point captain for credits, and then you decide you need a 19-point captain again, you lost 1.3 million Commander XP. That's the reality.
So you're only doing it on captains that 100% you don't want to get rid of. And I apologize, but personally, I'm keeping all my 19-point captains. And I'm keeping all my 10-point captains. Am I going to use them ever? Probably not. This guy looks cool, and I think I might have bought him for tokens or something on some event. I don't know. But I'm not going to get rid of him because I don't know if I'm going to need him in the future. And to buy him now, if I go to recruit a captain now, look how expensive it is. It's almost 1 million credits just for 6. 1,500 doubloons for a 10-pointer. So you're telling me I'm going to go and I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to dismiss him, and I'm going to spend 500,000 credits to only get a quarter of the XP necessary to get somebody to 10 points, and then I'm going to go buy somebody for the same doubloon cost. It's ridiculous, guys. It's ridiculous. There are traps with this change. There are a lot of traps, and you have to be careful not to fall into those traps, guys. All right, I'm just catching up on...
For me, I
Shane.
never dismiss captains, and so I have 50-something captains that are not even being used, but because I got duplicates from events and stuff, and I've gotten free ones that... Because like you said, you never know when you're going to need one. You know, I buy a ship now. I don't buy one with the commander. I buy it without one.
Right. That's what you do,
and
right?
Drop one from my reserve end.
Right.
Because it's already got free points. You know, it's no use to wasting your credits or wasting your doubloons trying to get a captain up when you had one, you know? I mean, worst comes to worst, make your reserve bigger.
Yep. I want to comment something real quick. Fanto, you said the meta for ranked has changed this season also. I'll tell you what, this week was my easiest rank out yet of this whole sprint time, and that's with more people entering the gold level. Why was it easier? Because people don't understand the commander skills, and it allowed me as a destroyer player. I just wiped the floor with my Z52. It was fabulous. Fabulous. Okay? But it takes a while. Hoojam says, anybody taking a break from the game but planning on coming back is totally screwed. You're damn right, Hoojam. Guys, the rework is like the game basically saying, we're going to reset ourselves and we're going to allow you to experience this game again in a way that you have never experienced the game before. And they're essentially giving you a brand new game with a clean slate. And people are like, wah, they didn't do this, or wah, they did that wrong. And I'm sorry, but like, I look at this as a gift. I look at this as something new that I can play with and try, and I can beat the crap out of noobs with because they do stupid decisions and I do the right things, in my opinion, of course, right?
Right.
That's the idea. Toxic.
I've been having fun in my Flint teaching people that the Flint is not a broken ship. It never got nerfed because they took away the advanced fire training skill in the captain's tree for cruisers. That's not a nerf on a ship. That's just removing a skill. The ship's still the same. They didn't touch the ship.
Yep. Tashkent, did they?
Yeah, but 90% of almost everyone takes AFT on Flint. So in a sense, it is a nerf because it's considered a core skill.
Yeah, like it's
If
like
only
a
the
concealment
Flint
expert
had
on
smoke.
something.
So something I want you guys all to think about. Yes, Flint was nerfed. Absolutely right, because you can't put AFT on it anymore. That nerf has applied to every single player out there who wants to play the Flint right now. So guess what Wargaming did? They nerfed you, and they nerfed every other player who plays that damn ship. It's a communal nerf, ladies and gentlemen. So,
But also too, think about this. How about all the destroyers that used to take it? How about all these gunboat destroyers?
They
Destroyers still get it.
Still have it.
Yeah, they have it still.
they can still do it. Yep. Tashkent says, did they already fix Paulo outrunning her smoke with Fit and Silence? I don't think that they have, and I don't know that they will.
Still bugged.
I don't know that they will, because in order to fix it, how do you fix that? Do you make it so that...
You make the creeping smoke spawn faster is about the best way you do it.
Right. So now you're taxing everyone's computer more. I don't know that Wargaming wants to do that.
They could just technically, I think if they just increase the radius of the smoke by 20 meters, it would also be fixed.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like it's literally a question of a ±1 knot, because if the Paolo turns at all, the smoke stays up with it. But if it's going like it's like 60 knots. Sounds like the above and below for if it works and if it doesn't.
Right.
It's more of a technical issue for the
Yeah, it
devs.
is.
From what I saw, the smoke actually starts spawning behind the ship at 60 for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And keep in mind,
we've messed around with creeping smokes, as I did very recently. There are some strange things that happen with creeping smoke.
and keep in mind that's assuming you're going straight in a straight line, right? Mark says, does that mean now we all need to buy a 21-point captain if you want to be someone on par with other players? No, not at all. Mark, if you want to be on par with other players, you need a 10 to 14-point captain.
Most will still have their 19-point captains as well. 21 is really just for high-end clan battles.
I think the most obvious example of where I've found the rework to be genuinely annoying with point cost increases is on torpedo destroyers that you ran RPF on, because now with Adrenaline Rush costing 1 more point, that same build is now 20 points instead of 19.
Right.
And that's a lot.
Gandalf, are you going to be here? You going to stay in that division? Well, okay. I'm doing it anyway. I'm gonna put you as commander. I'm gonna leave only so that I can talk about other captains and other ships instead of tier 6 only. So
yeah. I'll hold the div.
All right. I just want to get this off my chest here. So let's say we've got ourselves a 19 point captain. Let's say that this guy's not 19 point. Let's pretend that he's a 10 pointer. Well, what do you take as your core skills? Preventative maintenance, last stand, survivability expert, concealment expert. Guess what? You're competitive. I'm sorry, but you're competitive. At this point, you are... now, like SAT's comment before, if you're talking about King of the Sea and you're on the finals and you're the last day, if you're going in with a 10-point captain, you're hurting your team. Sure. If you're in clan battles and you're in Typhoon League and you're pushing for Hurricane and you're going with the 10-point captain, are you hurting your team? Maybe. But if you're playing ranked, if you're playing randoms, this is all you need for a destroyer, right?
You want to get your 10-point captain at around tier 5 or tier 6, and even at tier 10, you'll probably be expected to have 14 points, and it's okay.
Okay.
It's between 14 and 16 usually.
For a Grossovoy too, just to get the extra heal off with the superintendent and stuff.
Okay, now we're starting to go into nuances that will impact the game, or can impact the game, but we don't know for a fact that they will, right? The extra heal you're talking about here, right, Superintendent? Sure. This is nice.
Superintendent's now 18 points. If we're talking about a battleship captain.
Well, right, we'll get to that. But for destroyers, I mean, guys, this is all I need. If I were to go into ranked with a 10-point destroyer, this is what I would take. And I could do fine with it.
Yeah.
I could do fine with it. This is nice. Sure. This is nice. Adrenaline Rush is nice. Sure. Gun reload is nice. Am I going to notice 5% in most of my battles? Probably not. Maybe 1 out of, I don't know, 20? I might say, God, I wish I would have had 5% faster reload. You know?
I mean, that skill matters the most if you're going up against the mirror match, the enemy Grossovoy, and he has it and you don't. Otherwise, you're probably not going to notice it.
Right. But you're assuming a 1v1 situation where your skill is on par with the enemy player's skill, right?
Yeah.
And
which
we know
doesn't happen.
We know that's not
very rarely.
Right. Right, exactly. So, you know, here's your core, here's your skeleton build, and then you can branch off from there and pick the skills that you want as you go. The point I'm making is you don't need a 21-point captain to be competitive. When I go into ranked, I don't look at my players and say, boy, does that person have a 21-point captain? Does that point? Because they probably don't. And even if they did, do I trust that they've spec'd accordingly? Do I trust that they know how to use those skills? There's so many factors beyond just what skills commanders bring to the table, right? So, case in point, a lot of people have been talking about Liquidator. Oh my God, Liquidator's so nice. It helps so much. I get so many more floods and blah, 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 blah. Okay. You have to actually hit a ship with a torpedo to cause a flood. Liquidator means jack if you take a 20-kilometer Shimakaze and play at 19 kilometers all game. How many of you have seen that before? You see where I'm going with this? So, look at it as this is you, the player. What works for you, the player. Okay? Don't worry about everybody else. And as Toxic saying and Masada saying, screw the recommended builds. Guys, go to Wargaming's website, and there's a link God, I think I posted it in my Discord. There's a link to the respec here. Here it is. I'm gonna post it in chat right now, guys. There it is. Now, if you're in EU, change .com to .eu. Okay. If you're in Asia, change .com to .asia. If you're in Russia, change .com to .ru. Okay. But use that link. Do a blanket reset on all your commanders at some point between now and the next patch. Okay. If you don't want to do it now, fine. Wait.
I would, just to interrupt, I would wait until the last day you could do it while you're messing around trying out captain builds.
I mean,
because some of these captain builds are going to transfer to a lot more of your ships. So if you wait till the end you get to finalize, like, this is my torpedo boat, this is my gunboat build, then I would reset everybody. Don't waste it. Wait for the last moment.
Right. Right. I respect early just because I was afraid that something would break. And, you know, that wouldn't work. Captain Johnny Roller, thank you for saying, Jolly Roger, thanks for saying my stream is too much fun. But anyways, you know, like take your time and explore these things, and don't worry about what some community contributor says about the rework. Don't worry about what some other player says about the rework. Litigo, yes. If you use the global reset, make sure that you spec your captains. Absolutely. Shane Doos, you won something, it looks like. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's kind of weirdest. First time ever. Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, guys, every class of ship tier, or every class of ship here, in these rework skills, has some sort of what I like to call a noob trap. So shall we go through the noob traps?
Sure.
This is gonna be fun because I'm gonna offend some people doing this. All right.
I'm already offended.
Good. Because we're starting.
Well, if you're offended, that means you're offended by the truth, and you don't have the truth, and that's why you're offended.
We are starting.
Already spent all 11 reports.
We are starting with your favorite class, Grunty, the Destroyer.
Yay.
Anybody want to guess what? And this is yay. In my opinion, what tier 4 skill is the noob trap?
Tier 4?
Tier 4 skill.
I actually think there is that big of a noob trap in the destroyer skills.
Depends how we're defining noob trap.
Obviously, the answer is concealment expert.
I think every
Dazzle.
skill in the
I'm gonna go with Dazzle.
As every skill in here has its merits, I think. I just think that a lot of people, in my opinion, that is, are misusing some of these skills.
Sure. All right.
Well, like for me, I'm using IFHE instead of concealment expert for my 10-point front captain, and I see a big difference in it.
Not a destroyer, that's a cruiser.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're talking destroyers.
Destroyers,
Stay on
destroyers,
topic.
you got IFHE versus concealment there. I mean, what do you take? Do you take the ability to be able to hit harder, or do you want to be able to hide better?
So
It depends on your destroyer.
Yeah, it depends entirely on your gun caliber, what tier you are, and what you're shooting at.
There's tons of factors.
Why don't you start with saying what you think?
Yeah, what do
is
you
the
think?
noob
I'm
trap
curious.
skill in destroyer? You started this.
All right.
What is it?
In my opinion, it's Dazzle.
I thought you were saying this.
I'm starting off by offending Grunty right away because Grunty put Dazzle in a lot of his builds.
This is a noob trap.
Okay, why?
About Dazzle, like
It
I see a
isn't.
lot of people saying you take this skill on your stealthy torpedo boat, so when you get spotted, then you don't take as much damage. But I think if you do that, you're falling into the noob trap. Because on your stealthy destroyer, your main goal is to not get spotted in the first place. So you should do everything possible to not get spotted and not spend 4 points into a skill that, in the case that you do get spotted, helps you a little bit.
Yes. Guys,
But I think this skill is really good if you play a destroyer that wants to fight other destroyers, but doesn't have the best concealment and therefore will get spotted a lot.
And
For
European.
example, a daring. I think this skill is good on a daring or something like a Grossovoy. If you
How
play the
about the-
Grossovoy close range, because you will run into an enemy shimmy with better concealment and it will spot you before you can spot it back. And then you will get shot at.
And
And in this
European
situation,
destroyer.
Dazzle is gonna help you.
Now,
the Pan-European destroyers without having smoke, where you have to rely on that concealment and staying out of detection. You know, when you're first spotted, that might help you, but then again.
Now, guys, just to get it out of here, my definition of a noob trap is a skill that players feel like they are forced to take in order to be competitive, and therefore lose out on the ability to take other skills that might have bigger impact for them. Okay, so that's why we were talking about Dazzle as being a noob trap, and Grunty, you talk through it beautifully, man. Because
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Tox.
Now I was gonna make a Dazzle specific point. I've actually been running it a
Please.
decent amount in the last few days, and I cannot make a distinction about whether it actually helps or not.
Why?
Based on just incoming damage and everything, it's one of those, I don't know if it has been helping.
It's hard to judge the dispersion
exactly.
of shells fired at you, how big the effect of the skill is. Plus, the thing that Wargaming doesn't tell you if it's active or not makes it really, really hard to judge. So everything we talk about this skill right now is pretty much based on feels.
Yeah.
And to me, like, this skill felt great on my C52, for example. That's where I tested it the most, and it felt good.
Mm-hmm. So that's the problem that I have with Dazzle, right? Okay, now let's talk about some situations where Dazzle, you think it might come in handy. The most common situation is competitive, sure, but let's assume this is the most competitive of battles out there. Okay, this is King of the Sea, the finals, the last day. Raptor and I are casting it. I, of course, have had my dirty water because that's what I do as a tradition for the finals. And we're watching, and we see SAT score in a Shimakaze face checking, let's say a Summers. So for that first 15 seconds, SAT takes shells incoming from the enemy team because they see him, they know that he's there, and blah blah blah, right? They shoot at him, and the dispersion has increased by 20%. Now, what's the net result? The net result is that most likely SAT takes 1, maybe 2 less hits from a particular salvo. So Conqueror fires at... No one's going to use Conqueror in competitive. Montana fires at SAT, and instead of 3 shells hitting, 2 shells hit. In a competitive environment, that could be the difference between life or death for his destroyer. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now let's switch that environment up. It's ranked battles. Is there a difference?
Definitely difference in quality and player quality, because I'm not for me, I don't expect to get hit as much, so Dazzle becomes less powerful. But it's still very useful for a lot of destroyer players, because the most vulnerable time for a destroyer is during that few moments where you're first spotted. That's before you can take evasive maneuvers, and so Dazzle gives you that basically stops the enemy from. It gives you that kind of backup, so if enemies shoot at you during that 15 seconds, you are taking less damage. So then, once you start mitigating damage properly, then Dazzle will wear off, and you've survived the brunt of it.
Mm-hmm.
It depends a lot on how many people are actually shooting you. In ranked, in a clan battle or so, you can expect that everybody on the enemy team that can potentially fire at you is gonna fire at you.
Sure.
In ranked, that's not the case anymore, because that's basically just randoms with less people.
That's the point I'm trying to get at. A lot of people might look at Dazzle and say, I gotta have this, right, for ranked, or I gotta have this for randoms. In my opinion, this is a skill that's there for... And please, guys, don't take any offense when I say this. This is there for top-tier players in ultra-competitive environments. I can't see this being that helpful in a situation where you're going to be... How many times have you seen a destroyer just derp into detection, and then he smokes up and sits and then gets radared? Dazzle's completely useless at that point. I mean, 15 seconds later, but you know what I'm getting at, right? Like, that destroyer's still dead. Like, Dazzle only affects you for 15 seconds. The other thing to think about is, let's say you get radared by a Des Moines. Okay, well, for the first 15 seconds, Des Moines has a harder time hitting you. And for every other person on the team that the Des Moines is sitting on, they have a harder time hitting you for 9 seconds, because it's a 6-second delay, right?
Yeah.
So, personally, I just don't feel Dazzle is worth the 4-point investment, unless, again, you're one of those top-tier competitive players in a top-tier competitive environment.
It really depends what you have to give up for it, what else you could take that helps you.
Right.
Like, again, it's great if you knife fight an enemy destroyer in a 1v1. That skill is huge in that situation.
But
how often are you getting it?
Is it actually, though?
I think it is.
Because 20% of destroyer dispersion at 6 kilometers is nothing.
You'll be surprised.
It's not significant.
Yes.
Well,
I was shooting at an enemy destroyer at 5 kilometers with my Nustrashimi. It was one of those games. Nustrashimi dispersion and me don't get along very well to begin with. But I'm pretty sure that enemy destroyer was a Shiratsuyu had that skill. Out of my first 4 salvos, I didn't hit him at all. 2 shells over him, 2 shells short. 2 shells over him, 2 shells short. I'm 100% convinced he was using Dazzle and was messing with my dispersion.
Okay.
Also, keep in mind, it doesn't have to be just a destroyer shooting at you. Let's just say you take a Smolin and you radar a Shimakaze in front of 3 of his teammates. So Shima can't hit you, and he's probably busy running anyways, and his 3 teammates will struggle to hit you because you have Dazzle. So instead of taking maybe 5 to 10k return fire, you're probably taking about closer to 2 to 4k.
Right. I think one of the problems with Dazzle and a lot of these other skills is that when players in their minds think of these encounters, they oftentimes think of the worst case scenario and the greatest impact to them, when in reality it's probably not the case for most of their experiences. Again, this is random battles we're talking about. This is ranked battles we're talking about, right? Why would you even take it into co-op? I mean, come on. Could I have taken it? I played a bunch of operations earlier. Could I have taken Dazzle on my Japanese destroyers that I hate with a vengeance and lived? Maybe, probably, I don't know. Do I care? No. You know what I mean? So again, these are my opinion, but I need to get this off my chest.
The effect of Dazzle is pretty much the same that what is when Kuznetsov procs regarding the dispersion. It's exactly the same, it just doesn't last as long, but that's what you're basically getting. So if you have experienced already with Kuznetsov and how that works when the skill goes off, that's what Dazzle will do.
Right. Now, let's talk alternatives, okay? So instead of Dazzle, let's say you've decided you don't want to take Dazzle. What 4-point skill would you take instead of Dazzle?
Concealment Expert.
Okay, let's say you've taken that by default.
Are we talking gunboats or torpedo boats?
Yes.
Yes. So for torpedo boats, I like my radio location because I want to be stealthy. I don't want to accidentally run into something. I want to maybe blind torp in anticipation where an enemy might be. So radio location helps me with that. Okay.
Now, I want to put a distinction out here. This is active the entire game. This is active if you're spotted. Big difference. Okay. What else could you take?
I would go with cautious.
Torp reload, right? I take torp reload on my torpedo destroyers.
Cautious? Where's cautious?
Swift and silence.
Swift and silence. I forgot the name change.
Check with the names.
It's a really interesting skill, and I think it depends whether you want to take that if you plan to use your guns a lot. Like, let's say if you're playing a torpedo reload booster destroyer that doesn't want to use his guns because you don't have a smoke from where you can use it, so you only use your guns there if you really have to. Okay. And then the 5% reload probably does the nerf to it doesn't matter that much. So I will take Swift in silence on my Yugumo and my Kagero. I think it's good there, and it's better than Dazzle. Will I take it on my Shime? Maybe, because the alternative to this skill, taking it, comes down back to taking Adrenaline Rush on top or something like this.
Right.
And needs some testing. It's a toss-up between Swift and Silence and Adrenaline Rush, because realistically you can't take both. So...
Right. It's 5% main battery nerf. People are way overestimating it.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
people are overestimating me, but if I want to use my, like, if I'm shooting 100 times in my shimmy, then and again, it's not just the downside of the skill directly, it's if you take this skill, you're not taking something else that would also help you.
Duckman's
Yes,
like, we're
but-
sick of talking about this. Let's move on. Sorry,
Think
finish.
of it this way. So, increases your speed when you're undetected. If you're most destroyers will be undetected for most of the match, so you effectively get a free speed boost.
Yeah, you do. Seth, can you spec it out? Can you go radio location and torpedo real quick?
Fill the tubes, yeah, okay.
I was
Fill
gonna
the tubes
say,
and the...
my question is more.
You
would
could still do
rather
this.
take RPF
So-
or Swift
So
and
now you
Silent?
have 70 points. If you want to spec it, it really comes down to, do you take Swift and Silence or do you take Adrenaline Rush?
Right.
That's my take. That's what it comes down to in the end.
Mhm.
And I think for a Shimmy, I'd rather have Adrenaline Rush. For a Yugumo, I'd rather have Swift and Silence.
Again, guys, Grunty is just talking about 2 different ships, Tier 9, Tier 10, Tech Tree, Japanese torpedo boats, and he's got options. And the cool thing is, he can sit there and he can play with them and he can respec them all he wants for the duration of this patch to find out what works best for him. That's the point of this damn patch, guys. Okay, can we move on?
I thought the point was for me to go into a training battle with Grunty and just have him own my ass in my midway.
Oh,
Playing midway, you're just slapping yourself. So.
there's.
I'll tell you what, that little test changed my mind about those AA skills.
By the way,
no, AA is not irrelevant.
one of the cool things about this now is you've got the ability to use Recall Commander instead, so you can go, and there he is. So helpful. You got to make that sucking noise when it happens, otherwise it doesn't work as well. Okay.
I do like the recall. But that's a nice feature for just like the mass demount button. A couple of tabs to go through the...
So let's talk about cruisers, shall we?
Sure.
All right.
I don't want to jump on if you've got a script, but one thing I noticed yesterday playing the Zao, full AA on Zao is actually viable. I actually scared off a midway. And
Yeah,
shot
let's
them
get this out of the way right now. This tier 2's AA skill
Best
is
skill
a
in the game.
great skill. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. This skill is good. It's
So-
the best AA skill in the game available, especially if you combine it with defensive fire.
Yep.
Something that a lot of people just they've been trained to feel like their anti-air doesn't matter, and you're absolutely correct. Grunty did the testing, as Puddin can attest, and wow.
I've
If
also
you
played a lot of carriers since the rework, and I'm losing way more planes than I did before.
amazing how that happens.
Well, I mean, I hope you're not
Really?
using the nuke traffic concealment expert, but we'll get there eventually.
So, I mean, yes, I Die Quick is saying yes, your anti-air does get destroyed over time. Sure, absolutely. But in initial encounters, holy crap, is this thing strong? All right, guys, what's the noob trap for cruisers?
Concealment expert.
The number one nuke trip is outnumbered.
Okay.
The number
I agree
two
with you, man. Outnumbered is the number one noob trap for a cruiser.
The number 2 is the combination of the HE damage and the top grade gunner.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's tackle the first noob trap here, outnumbered. Why is this a bad skill?
It's
Positional
almost impossible
problem.
to proc.
Okay, I want it. Okay.
Please, go.
The problem with outnumbered is there's 2 ways to look at this. How you activate the skill and then what it gives you. And the problem is with both parts of that. You activate it by depending on the enemy team to send more votes to your flank than you have, and having all of them lit at the same time. Because even YOLOing straight into the enemy team, you will probably have more teammates near you than there will be enemy players near you. And you're literally throwing it up to the enemy team to try and activate a skill, right? And then, okay, let's say you've activated it. What do you actually get from it? You don't get anything. You get a speed boost. Like, maximum dispersion of cruisers being better is not a significant buff anyway. And like, for the amount of effort that's required to get this buff, it's like somebody sat down and designed the worst possible skill, and then they put it in the tech tree. That's what it is.
Yep.
Well, I see it as a skill only usable for kiting. If you're only always running away from them.
Okay.
The problem is, even if you are kiting and you actually look at your own gun range, you will probably have more friendly ships near you, or it is at a point in the game where you've already lost and you can't influence the game anymore. And at that point, it's just I'm farming a little better because I'm a little more accurate. Not
So-
that, yeah.
This is
The chances is, when you have this skill proc, you probably fucked up in the first place, or the rest of your team has died.
You're hiding away. You're running away to hide. You're trying to kite away and run away and hide someplace so you can.
But if you're hiding,
survive the match.
if you're hiding, this doesn't work.
The actual problem is that the benefits aren't good. The ship speed is okay, but I would much prefer an acceleration, kind of like HIV. Dispersion the dispersion is a problem because cruisers struggle with dispersion. It's a battleship skill that somehow got thrown to the cruiser tree.
All right, so I look at this as this is something that's great for people that want to save their star in ranked, because that's, to me, the only time that I can reliably proc this is when all my teammates are dead and everybody's shooting at me. That's the only time I can see this being useful.
I put it on my Atago yesterday and tried kiting and went right into the enemy flank, and it was so hard to proc. I could not get more enemies to get into my bubble.
No, because you know what's going to happen? You know what happens, and especially in random battles, but we also see this in ranked. If you show up in your Atago and you're like being all aggressive and pushing, what are they going to do? The natural instinct is to turn around and kite away from you. So you're trying to proc outnumbered, and the enemy team's like, no, dog, we're not giving that to you. And what happens? You die. It doesn't matter. So
They're just luring you in more, and then they are deleting you.
the magnitude of the in-game ignorance that would be required to create the skill is staggering. Yes, you're right. You're right.
That's the exact opposite of what it should ever do in a situation that should never be a thing they're encouraging.
That's why this is a terrible skill. That's why it's my first noob trap of the cruiser line. Yes, there are multiple. But in my opinion, if they wanted to make this work, there needs to be a reload boost. Right? Like, I'm outnumbered. I'm putting everything I can into my guns to try to get as much damage as possible. But even then...
This one should give you the dispersion, like Dazzle, for instance, right? Like,
yes.
If you're actually in some shit situation, you don't want you want your guns to shoot faster, and you want the enemy to hit you less. Like, those are the things that if you were to describe the situation the skill is actively in, like.
Right. Now,
Easy
again,
way to make it a little better would be like if the condition wasn't allied ships in your gun range, but if it at least was allied ships within your concealment or something like this.
Mhm.
But even then it wouldn't be good.
I mean, now, could this be useful in clan battles, top tier, ultra competitive, or even King of the Sea?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you. Okay.
I expect this skill to be changed, to be honest.
It probably will be. It probably will be. But for now, guys, that's the noob trap number 1. And again, noob trap is forcing you to spec into it because it sounds good on paper and you blow a bunch of points. You would have been better off putting it in concealment. Okay?
Don't forget.
It's a lot of thing. People just see the green numbers. Oh, I get a faster ship and I get a dispersion. And they don't realize what they actually have to do to get it.
Yep.
The tier 1 skills are actually better than it.
Yeah.
Yep.
At least they always work.
I think I heard Masada saying something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's also recommended. So how many people who aren't that educated in the game are going to pick it? Because it's got the little yellow arrow.
Ultra noob trap right there. Thanks, Wargaming. Okay. What's the other noob trap in cruisers? Because this one's spicy.
Oh, I know.
Go ahead,
Enhanced
Shane.
torpedo explosive charge.
What?
It's top good. It's top grade gunner and the SAP shell.
It's the double 7-pointer.
Okay, so a lot of people look at this and say, "Oh, heavy S." So this increases the damage that I do. So they're thinking Venezia with SAP shells, or they're thinking Hindenburg or Henri with HE shells. Oh, but wait, my detectability goes down by 15%. That sucks. But I want that damage. And then they look down at top grade gunner. Oh, wait a minute. I get 8% better reload if I'm detected. But this makes me detected more. Ah, there's a synergy here. And that's the other noob trap, ladies and gentlemen. Why is this a noob trap, guys?
Because it doesn't work?
Because honestly, I think it is good on some ships, but it's very narrow. Like, I'm coming down to Henry Unique upgrade. And that's basically it. It is almost never worth it to make your concealment worse just to get this skill done.
I can only see that combination working on a Venencia, where you're supposed to be moving at full speed all the time.
See, the thing is with the Venetia is you have a smoke, so you can get yourself undetected, and the plus detection you get from the tier 3 skill doesn't matter. So cruisers that have a smoke, for those the combination might be perfectly fine.
Riker, thank you for the follow.
If you try to make this work on a Hindenburg, or let's say, I don't know, Petropavlovsk or something like this, it's just bad.
Yep. And Harley, thank you for the sub, by the way. Go ahead.
The way I like to see it is the cruisers are the knights of this game. Their role is to be useful and precise. You got to put them in the right position. It's all about positioning. Why would you give up all your concealment and your ability to dictate how you're going to play the battle and pick your fights for a small buff to your PPM?
It's not a small buff.
It's a pretty significant buff, absolutely. But the challenge with this is it changes your playstyle to one of, I'm going to put myself in a position to punish people with the Venezia or Henri, right? Because you could, that AP in both of those ships is devastating if you can get that right salvo. Toxic and I talked before about this, right? It's all about that initial salvo. And if you play this ship so that that initial salvo means everything, then this is the worst thing that you can do for yourself. But if you're playing the ship more as a long-range, ultra-long-range kiter, like a Hindenburg with range, for example, or Henri with range, or even Legendary mod, your damage is going to increase, but what are you doing? You're farming battleships and you're dodging them at ultra-long range. That has nothing to do with the destroyers that you discover that are, countering your teammates' destroyers. So the reason why
there's a lot when playing destroyers, like you don't get support when you try to do something playing the objectives, because not only are the battleships sitting in the back, now the cruisers are doing it as well because of combinations like this.
Yep.
And then you look at when you're playing your destroyer and the closest ship behind you is 10 kilometers away.
So
feels great.
That's why this is the other noob trap, guys. Can you do this? Yes. Does it synergize? Yes. Should you do it? Do you want to win games?
On a very, very small amount of ships.
Do you want to win games? If you want to win games, this is a terrible combination. If you want to save your star in ranked, this is fantastic. Do it. You're just not going to win games.
I think there is another noob trap here in this skill tree, though.
Okay, so we're on a third.
Pyrotechnician is not worth 2 points for 1% fire chance.
Mo like it. Thank you very much for the sub. Yeah, I agree. 1%, big deal. You can do that on flags.
If you take it on a cruiser that has a 30% fire chance already.
Yep.
Good job, guys.
Can I explain my argument for the torpedo damage as a noob trap?
Go ahead.
It encourages people to think of the torpedoes as a main armament. That, hey, look, I've got to turn sideways now, get full broadside to this ship, and launch torpedoes that I might hit them, rather than use those torpedoes in a suicide charge. Or there's a chance, or if somebody's suicide charging me, saying in any of my cruisers that have torpedoes, that's the time I use them.
I could see somebody who's an aggressive Hindenburg player liking it.
Right.
Maybe.
But you have 8 torpedoes on your Hindenburg.
You're probably going to kill whatever anyway.
Already.
I know. What's the use?
Well,
there's very few cruisers that have less than 4 torpedoes out there.
Right.
I can
At
think
the higher
of
tiers. They got, 4, 8, 10?
I can think of 3 cruisers where I would take it. No, actually, it's 4.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yoshino with the 20-kilometer torps.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't.
Irian.
Okay, Irian, yep.
Wukong, the two Panasian ones.
Wukong.
And
yes.
maybe on the Sao.
Mm-hmm. Very
Minotaur.
situational.
I'd rather spec A in the Minotaur than this, but possible.
I feel there's other things because it encourages you to think of it as a main armament, saying, "Hey, look, I have to get into position to fire torpedoes at this battleship."
Yeah, but let's face
because I have such short-range torps. How about all those cruisers got those short-range torps, like 6 to 8 kilometer torps? You're already spotted for one thing, and so you're being shot at by everybody. So what's the use of trying to encourage you to get into those positions rather than angling to survive?
Let's face the facts, though. The people that think torpedoes on cruisers are a main armament, we already make fun out of. So,
yeah, we kill them.
I mean, at this point, that's kind of a silly argument.
The thing is, though, with the cruisers right now, there are no survivability skills for cruisers anymore. So you are very, very, very flexible with your cruiser points. Like most cruiser builds are done right now with 14, 15 points. And if you have decent torpedoes, I see absolutely no harm after that speccing your torpedo damage if you want to.
Well, there's a survivability expert if you want to try to do.
Yeah, that's the only one. By the way, Sass,
you have adrenaline rush, that's much better. You have a survivability and adrenaline rush, which is a much better skill than the torpedo skill. They gave you another couple of salvos if you're spotted.
I mean, it's up to you in the end. Like, you probably still have the points. In general, like, you're completely right. Your torpedoes are not your main armament, unless Kitakami comes to the game at some point. So it's very, very down the list of skills when you should take it. By the way, Sass, you were asked to put on a basic 10-point captain build for cruisers as well.
Sure. Okay. So I think, let me reset selection. So personally, if I were to do cruisers, right, I want Grease the Gears, because that's a fun name. I don't care that it's buffed or not. I'd probably take it no matter what. Priority target to me.
On the turret traverse, right?
Yes.
That could be gun feeder, for example, as the first 1-point skill, depending on what cruiser we're talking about.
Sure.
But it's probably one of those two. Maybe even the last stand, if you're playing something like a very squishy French cruiser that loses engine.
Sure. Personally, I want to get my guns on target. So for me, that's where I'm going to go with it. Desta with the sub. Thank you very much, Desta. And I think I forgot Harley or somebody else earlier. Next up, I would probably do priority target.
Just resubscribed for 7 months.
Definitely.
Finally got my Prime sub back.
And then for the next, so this is the part. Yeah, where you get to decide. You get to choose your path. Really.
I'd say if you have a heal, it's probably superintendent. If you don't have a heal, it's probably adrenaline rush.
Yep, one of these two makes the most sense. Now, you could make the argument for heavy AP shells on an American cruiser, but to me, that's not the first skill. That's a later skill. And then same thing for heavy HE and SAP, which we talked about earlier as the noob trap. But if you want to, hey, you do you. Or if you're in a Smolensk.
If you're a Smolensk or a Colbert, it's probably your first one. Although I still take the superintendent, I guess.
Yep. And then the last one is concealment.
Superintendent, as I like having extra charges.
I put that super heavy HE skill on my Zao, and it's still below my torpedo range concealment, and it's only like 11 point something kilometer concealment. So like a Zao, I could see that working, but when you're talking tier 9 and 10, superintendent, because you want that heal, you need to survive, because doing damage doesn't mean crap if you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your health is a resource you can use to be able to fight. That's how I look at it. Is I look at my health. How much of my health am I willing to sacrifice to help my team?
Henry Rudder is protected. The rudder is probably not even that much of a problem with those builds, because he runs steering gears mod in the 5th slot, which reduces your repair time for the rudder greatly. It's mostly for the engines. Oh, on the Henry, you're running Legendary, I guess. But the Henry rudder is protected anyway. I'm more talking about Charles Patel, Bayard, St. Louis, and such.
I mean, you run Last Stand on the Martel and
you
St.
probably
Louis,
do.
because those things lose rudder when Thunderers miss you.
I always use Last Stand anyway because I expect to have either my engine room taken out or my rudder be taken out, or
You can't though on the Henry. It's impossible.
Yeah, if
to
you're
detect it.
losing your engine, you're getting Citadel, so you're not playing correctly. And if you're losing your rudder, it's specific to a couple of ships.
and I
those
also like
ones
to
are
be able
noted.
to bug out. If I have to bug out, I don't want to have to like, crap, I'm dead in the water. I can't bug out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have an R button for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you hit
Yep.
the R button and your engine doesn't break for however many seconds. Like,
All right. So to me personally, this is your skeletal cruiser build, right? Like, you could make the argument for Gunfeeder, especially if you're one of the does. Absolutely, right? Personally, if I don't get a buff on either, I'm probably going to go for Grease the Gears because I want my turrets to get in position faster. Fair. Now, once you get to 10 points, what's the next one you go for?
IFHE.
No.
Depend on the
Depends
cruise.
on the ship. I'll probably take a superintendent first. That would probably be my
Superintendent.
next one.
Superintendent?
I don't think superintendent is worth it if you don't have the heal. And if you have the heal, you took it first anyway.
Okay.
So
right,
my
I
next
guess,
one would
I guess
be
we should
Adrenaline
rephrase
Rush.
this. Are we what tiers? Are we just talking general? Because when we're talking builds, I'm thinking tier 9 and 10 because you
Sure.
have heals.
9 and 10. Go for it.
And
And
you take
then
super.
and superintendent.
Yep.
You had the superintendent before, then Adrenaline Rush.
Yep. The other skill that I think is very powerful that a lot of people are just ignoring right now or just not noticing, Top Grade Gunner.
Oh, good.
I see, Toxic? Why?
Because it is a free buff to every single radar cruiser. If you radar something and something is in your radar range, your guns shoot faster. There is no downside to that.
This is a
Yeah,
perfect skill for Des Moines. Yeah.
But in
Within-
it's
On
good.
an island, anything
It's
fighting
good.
with concealment range, your guns shoot faster.
Remember,
Great
it's
for
your
every
standard.
cruiser that either has that has bad detection by default, something like Moskva, for example. It's a great skill for something that can abuse the concealment and stuff, like smoke cruisers,
Mhm.
or something that is potentially just hiding behind islands, but getting stuff within their detection range.
Air Force One, it's a little bit harder on Salem simply because it's got that little T-Rex radar. But it's still somewhat useful, especially if you are pushing into, or you're holding an area and like ships are pushing you, right? Like if they get within your detection, boom. Doesn't
If you're on
matter.
opposite sides of an island from somebody, like think of a map like North, where people are often parked directly on opposite sides of islands from one another.
Mhm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
the ship's 5 kilometers away from you, your guns shoot faster. Like, that's the easiest way to kind of think about it.
Yep.
This
This
skill
is
really needs an indicator too, though, so that you can make a better judgment how often it is active.
the only way you can tell is if you pay attention to your reload as you're using it, right?
You can actually tell it's active if you hold control in battle and hover over your shell types, because the reload number that shows up there.
Yeah, of course you can, but it's
Yeah.
still much more complicated
there
than if you had an indicator that you can just observe,
Sure.
and then you watch your replay, for example, and you measure, okay, my game lasted 15 minutes, and out of these 15 minutes, my indicator was on for 7.
Yep. Yep. And guys, we've asked Wargaming for indicators. Trust me. CCs have been saying that needs to happen. You, the players, have been asking for it too. It's coming, I'm sure. And if Wargaming's not going to do it, a modder is going to do it. So that's coming.
If they can.
Right, if they
I
can.
don't know if the Wargaming API gives the information out that is needed for something like this.
Sure.
I'm sure
But
there are ways. We've got mods that make radar ranges flash. Like, this is the same thing as a rate. Like, this is to that.
No, it's not, because the API needs to give out if there is an enemy ship within your base detection range. That is different than flashing out a radar that has a fixed range and isn't dependent if something is in it or not.
so, anyways, regardless, this, I think a lot of people agree. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But this is probably a skill that's likely to be nerfed in the next few weeks. What do you think?
I don't think so.
I don't think they'll get nerfed.
No, I don't think they will
No?
nerf it.
Okay.
But it says you might want to show in port what the standard detectability range is. So if you maybe open the concealment on the right side of your ship.
Yep. So standard detectability, and this is where the noob trap comes into place, because right now without concealment expert, this is 13.8 kilometer. Now, what a lot of people are doing is they're taking their Henri, okay, and they're going to equipment, and they're slapping the legendary on, which has a nerf to detectability, and then they're going here, and then they're saying, I'm just not going to do anything to my detectability by sea, so that's 17.7, but wait, there's more. I'm going to put this on. Oh my god, now my detectability is 20.3 kilometer. Fine, you want to see me? I don't care, because guess what? Boom, I'm going to shoot you 8% faster now. Again, that forces you to stay so far away from the opponents. You have no impact on the battle other than I get to farm battleships. Okay. How many times have you heard me say killing destroyers wins games? Plain and simple. This does not win you games. This saves your star. This makes you feel better. That's it.
That's it though, when you lose the game with a 200,000 damage game, do you really feel better about that?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the issue with cruisers. Okay.
If you're gonna run HIV like that, you can also put on incoming fire alert. That way, not only you're farming the target, but since everyone's expected to shoot at you, you can dodge them, and so you can farm potential damage as well.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree is because if you're farming damage and you're sitting still, then you expect to be hit. You're going to get hit. You should be moving instead of sitting still.
I mean, you can dodge an awful
You're
lot
chuckling
of
forward backward with the Henry at 20 kilometers.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
In order to...
you don't have to move very much.
Or you can move a lot and just play with the engine.
Yeah.
Honestly, the move a lot is probably worse for you then, because the people can estimate how far you go in the distance. But if you just sit still, they fire you, you decelerate or move up, the shell will miss, then you stop again. It's much easier to hit a moving target at 20 kilometer than one that is speed chuckling.
But then you're going to get the
you're
crazy
expecting
captain like myself is it will fire one turret at you, see you move, and at the moment you're moving, adjust my aim and shoot another turret at you. Shoot one turret at a time at you to get you to sit there, spend more time trying to juggle, and I'm more likely to hit you with the Deadeye because I'm keeping you at beyond my concealment range.
Hold on, hold that thought for a moment. I need to deal with my cat for a second. He's meowing like crazy. So we're gonna pause for just a minute. I'm gonna run another quick ad break, and then we're gonna let's talk about battleships, shall we? I think we've
just Deadeye.
we've exhausted
one skill to talk about here.
We've exhausted cruisers.
Depends
We've
on the
exhausted
battleship.
destroyers.
The biggest noob trap in the game.
Next up is battleships, ladies and gentlemen. Quick, brief ad while I deal with my cats. I will be right back.
Depends on the battle.
Dreadnought _52 is now following.
Yeah, my bad.
Oh, well, I thought you wanted us to hold off.
Sorry, I took a quick break as well.
Well, with battleships, you got to do different types. You got the snipers and you got the knife fighters.
You have the snipers, and then you
First
have the
time I
less
heard
suited
that-
snipers.
I've heard the term knife fighters for the very first time in regards to battleships right now.
The secondary battleships. That's what I'm referring to, like the Massachusetts, the Georgias, the GKs whenever they
See, like,
decide.
knife fighting is for me something like you're fighting an enemy destroyer at 5 kilometers. It doesn't, but my mind doesn't comprehend it with battleships. Like, heavy APs.
That
okay,
I need
yes.
to get buffed to
Great if you want to
80%.
farm fireproofs, right?
Well, for me, the knife fighting term refers to any kind of firing at 11 kilometers and less.
That's not
brawler
knife fighting.
builds, though. That's brawling. That's not knife fighting.
Well, that's how I see it, and that's how I refer to it. Now, if it's brawling for you guys, it's brawling for you guys. But for me, it's knife fighting.
Yeah, this is
Especially
the problem with
Battleship.
this is the problem with not having standardized terms. Because most people will define brawling as within generally about secondary range. Knife fighting is usually within hydro range.
Well, the brawl now
what's
you're
within
talking
range?
about secondary range. Secondary range is varies so greatly in this game. Are you talking about Alabama's secondary range, or are you talking about a Massachusetts secondary range? 'Cause then
Massachusetts.
that's when we're brawling.
I mean, nobody's talking about
It's
Alabama
a 10 to
secondary.
12 kilometer range. Like, I think that's very widely agreed upon.
I think a general term for like secondary range fighting battleships is roughly about 10 kilometers, right?
You're thinking you're thinking about the Massachusetts, the Georgias, the Ohios, and tier
Well, yeah,
8
those,
Germans.
yeah, those are the secondary battleships, right?
And the French, which we won't talk about.
We don't talk about French battleships with secondary.
They run
Wait,
away.
wait, we missed something. We forgot to talk about cruiser secondary range.
No, we didn't. We
Now that
skipped this on
me and
purpose.
Henri can break 10 kilometers.
Wait, so I shouldn't run a full secondary build on my Hindenburg?
I mean, to be fair, all you don't even need any skills. It's just a single point. It's just a module.
No, you need to take top rate gunner. That buffs your secondaries.
Yeah, but that just does your fire rate. To get the range, all you need is a flag.
So generally the ranges goes as about if your proxy detect within 2 kilometers, that's point blank. About 2 to 6 kilometers is considered close range or knife fighting. 6 to about 11 or 12 is considered brawling. Anything 12 to about 16 or so is considered mid-range. And then everything past that is sniping. Of course,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right.
Yep. The difference is a little bit different at mid and lower tiers because they're lower because of the general lower ranges, but the general idea still applies.
Yeah.
Well, then you have a Georgia has only got a 20k range. Then they consider
The
only
OD
mid tier
chess is
to
now following.
close.
Those ranges
Not long.
don't scale. We can just use that as a standard reference. We don't have to be like, oh, it scales to whatever the top range is. But yeah, we don't have to argue. There's no point in arguing over this.
Are you guys
And
ready?
I've already given a general one, like secondaries and then secondaries, hydro, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Like that will scale by tier.
You guys ready
Yes,
to
let's
jump
go
in?
on.
All
Here
right.
we come.
Quickly, I need to thank Dreadnought 52, Unit 620, and Ye Old Cheese for the follows. And it's time to talk about everybody's favorite skill in World of Warships. Deadeye.
Carriers?
Submarines?
Exiting battle? Anyway. So, let's talk about noob traps for battleships. What's the biggest noob trap for battleships, would you guys say?
Playing them in general?
Biggest noob trap is 3 points.
Honestly, the biggest noob trap for me is the heavy AP shells.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's this one.
I have 3 skills: the heavy AP, the IFHE, and enhanced anti-torpedo protection. Those 3 skills.
That's a good point too, yeah.
Okay.
I like the anti-torpedo protection.
But it's not worth that many points.
Or vigilance. Okay, if you happen to spec into vigilance because you're going to be torpedoed, then you're playing your battleship wrong. Then you're letting destroyers and aircraft get too close to you.
Okay.
I disagree with that because it has a lot of merits on lower tier battleships where we're looking at especially lots of torpedo soups and stuff like this. It might not apply for the high tiers, but I think both the Vigilance and the Rock Solid have especially merits if you like to play your tier 4 and tier 5 battleships.
Okay.
I would say the noob trap is every skill not named Deadeye.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, let's get these other noob traps out of the way, and then we'll talk about Deadweight. IFHEs is pretty obvious, right? Like, maybe applies to Thunderer.
some secondaries. 105mm secondaries for the Germans, and
Okay.
that's about it.
So if you're going to build out for secondaries,
Take IFHE on a Thunderer.
I mean, you could. I've seen people do it, and it does ridiculous things to cruisers with HE, right? It'll citadel them.
Feels better.
So it feels better.
I have footage of me just one-shotting tier 10 cruisers in my Thunderer.
I mean,
With
what is it?
HE.
It lets you get citadels on, I think, the Wooster? I think that's the only thing it actually does, but you should never take it on anything because it's
Right.
like how you buff French 100mm secondaries, which are useless anyway. So,
So-
just don't.
So IFHE on a 1/4 HE pen battleship, so that's German or British battleships, could, that's situational, could do a lot, absolutely. French secondaries, 100mm French secondaries, if you want them to actually do anything,
Pen destroyers.
you need to buff them with IFHE. That being said, personal experience,
Don't do it.
you're better off using your secondaries as fire starters in the French. So if you want Pyrotechnic, I guess you could. It's a 1-point skill, so it's cheap. But, like, you know...
Let's forget French battleships with secondaries
yeah.
after
Okay.
this.
That's a better idea. That's a better idea. Now... Okay, so that takes care of IFHE. Let's talk about super heavy AP shells. Why is that a noob trap?
The downside is too big.
Okay.
Everybody's complaining
longer.
about HE spam meta and burning, and you're taking a skill to burn 30% longer. Yeah, I can't help you.
That effectively converts fires from doing what, like, is it 16% base to doing
21?
It goes
20?
from 60-second duration to about 78 base.
Yeah, it's 78 max, which is hilarious.
This is only useful on a Conqueror if you personally want to farm Fireproof or Dreadnought achievements. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're keeping
Just-
at range.
Just play Conqueror as normal and you'll get it.
Yeah, really. There's no
That's the thing.
reason to ever take this.
So this is a heavy nerf to most players. So this is definitely a noob trap. Okay. So
No,
far.
it's for those who want a harder difficulty.
Okay.
Oh, hard mode.
So we've agreed on these two noob traps. There's been talk about this as possibly being a noob trap. Okay. Good talk.
Yeah,
It's a noob trap.
it is.
For most people, it's going to be a noob trap. The only time I could see this being useful is if you're one of those people who plays a very aggressive battleship who wants to be up on the front lines and gets really frustrated with torpedoes. But personally, if that's the case, I'm taking Vigilance instead because Vigilance will help me dodge the torpedoes in the first place. Right?
As I said, I think on high tiers, it probably doesn't matter too much because, let's say, even if you play your stationary bow on battleship, where you're getting torped in the bow, and it doesn't help you there very much.
Well, you get the torpedo protection and the vigilance depends on the battleship. If you're doing a German battleship, what's the use of having the vigilance because you're running hydro?
But Vigilance
stacks for Hydra.
stacks.
Mini map the enemy team. If you're letting a destroyer get on your flank and unnoticed, well, there's a destroyer not spotted anywhere. Where is he at? Where's the last place he was at? He was close to me, in front of me. Is he heading to my flank to torp me or what? Keep an eye out. Keep your bow.
Yep.
Or you can easily turn into those torpedoes. Vigilance is useless.
Coughlin brings up a good point.
I see it still useful on low tier battleships, like when you get into games with 4 destroyers per game.
Absolutely.
And all they try to put out, you have torpedo soup down there. I both see vigilance and torpedo protection very, very useful on these lower tier ships.
If you're going to be aggressive and you're going to play up front, Vigilance is extremely helpful for that because it gives you that confidence to push.
The other thing, it helps with the deep water torpedoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, if you like your Arkansas better,
Mm-hmm.
I think those are 2 great skills for it.
Right.
Or
Question.
maybe something like Julius Caesar in lower tiers, or if you're Seal Clubber in what's the German tier 3 battleship called again?
König Albert.
König Albert, yeah.
Important question. Did you just call it Arkansas?
Uh-oh. He did. I heard that too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Grunty is in Germany. He's in Europe, and he is staying up late just to be part of the stream. So let's try not to troll him too much.
What's correct?
Listen, I will back him up. It is Arkansas. It's not Arkansas, okay? It's Arkansas.
Hey, just because we say the one state one way and you say the other one completely differently for no reason doesn't mean everyone shouldn't know that.
Look, I'll call it Argbeda, okay?
There
Are
you
we
go.
good with that?
These are the things you all came here to listen to. Totally not the commander skills, but how we pronounce a State of the Union. Okay. Somebody was asking, does enhanced anti-torpedo protection help against carriers? Sure. But carriers, it's not about the damage that the torpedoes drop, it's about the flooding, which that has nothing to do with damage reduction. If you're worried about carriers, you're better off taking AA gunner or taking expert anti-air marksman, right?
Yep, especially on like a Thunderer where you have the defensive AA.
Okay.
Boost up your AA so the carrier can't get close to you to torpedo.
Can we move on now to the skill that we've all been waiting for the past hour and a half?
Concealment expert.
Fire prevention.
I'm gonna slap you, SAT. Not concealment.
Deadeye slap him.
All right.
You can't. You missed. I have dazzling.
I only missed 20% of what I fired at you, my friend. Okay. Deadeye time. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you haven't joined into the spreadsheet yet, let me get the spreadsheet to you. And then take a look at Toxic's Words of Wisdom section. Because I put it there because it felt sad otherwise.
In other words, is the spreadsheet going to tell us that we are having fun with the CVs now?
No. All right. Okay. So, here's the thing. I'm going to drop my own face for a second because this is something that you guys freaking need to understand is that this is, I think, a Reddit post someplace where they figured out the dispersion formula and how it impacts you as a result of taking it on various ships. Now, I went ahead and I added a little bit to it. First of all, I did the math for you. You're welcome. So, firing range adjustment, assuming you are 15 kilometers away, and remember that Deadeye means you cannot be detected by anybody, and nobody that's detecting you can be within visibility of you yourself. So if you've got a Marceau that's 6 kilometers away from you shooting at you, guess what? Deadeye doesn't work. Okay? So you're 15 kilometers away. Yes, SAT?
From the wording, it does not say that. It just says as long as there's no spotted ships within your standard detection, then Deadeye works.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if he smokes up,
I mean,
or
if a Marceau is
smokes
6
up,
kilometers away from you, he's inside your standard detection.
That's the point I'm getting at.
only if he's detected. He can be there, but if he's not detected, then
If it's within 6 kilometers, he is detected.
I do believe the comment was if the DD is in your detectable shooting, he's within your detectability.
This is why
There
edge
is
case.
an unlit boat inside of your detection range. You are spotted. It doesn't. This the way that it is written. It will still work as long as nothing is lit within your detection range.
Right. So, guys, I'm zooming in on this so you guys can all see this. This is the actual formula here that was figured out on Reddit. And I went through and put the numbers in. Now, Slava, of course, is the biggest winner from this because it's Slava, and that's what it deserves because it's Slava. Shikishima and the Japanese battleships, you guys all know we're snipers already. These three ships should not be a surprise to you. Now, if you're firing from 15 kilometers away, that's as if you're firing from 11 kilometers away. The problem with this skill, guys, is everybody thinks, oh, I gotta be farther away because I can be as accurate. So what's the result? Instead of firing from 15 kilometers away, they're firing from 20 kilometers away. Wait, that's as if they're firing from 15.5 kilometers away. Guess what Wargaming just did, ladies and gentlemen? They nerfed idiots. I don't know how else to say it.
With this table, though.
They should what?
I have an issue with the table. Like,
What's your
the
issue?
table is correct, but it's only for the horizontal dispersion.
Sure.
And from what I've seen with this skill is the shells you get with this skill seem to be way tighter than you would assume if you just adjust the horizontal dispersion. This skill must do something else in the background, like affecting vertical dispersion. Maybe the 10% isn't 100% correct, but from what I've seen, like it's definitely more than 10% horizontal dispersion.
Okay, but here's the problem. Go ahead, Toxic.
Well, I spent hours with
Shane.
my Azumo. And you know how all three of those turrets are really close together with and without the skill. Is I've noticed a tighter disbursement horizontally as well as vertically with this skill than I am without the skill.
Okay.
It does do a little bit. It's little, and this is firing salvo after salvo after salvo and recording it and then going back and measuring it, freeze framing and measuring it. It does help. Both.
Exactly. What Avoiding Harriet just said in chat. The skill feels way more effective than the description seems to suggest. That's exactly my stance too. And I think Wargaming needs to look into it.
So here's the thing. If you are driving Slava, is the skill helpful? Hell yeah, it's helpful. But it's the freaking Slava. It's gonna it's gonna slap you anyways. You know what I mean? Like, do you need this?
Conqueror. You get a what's a Thunderer. Thunderer's already got ridiculous accuracy. Now you just made it work. Now you just made it even better.
Well, okay, but look at this. If I'm playing as the Royal Navy ship, so if I'm playing as Thunderer or if I'm playing as Conqueror, and I'm firing from
Thunderer has a different Thunderer is battle cruiser dispersion, not Royal Navy cruiser.
Fair enough. Okay, so instead of firing from 12.6, I'm firing from 12.7. If I'm at 15, right? Is that helping me? Sure. Is that enough to justify the points? Maybe on Thunderer. Conqueror? Maybe?
I would say yes for Conqueror.
Yeah, I would say yes on Conqueror.
Because of its concealment is so
you really
low.
Don't need it on Thunderer. It helps.
Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. The problem with this has nothing to do with the ships. The problem with this has to do with how the players execute the skill.
Player base.
That's the freaking problem.
Yay! Necessity Deadeye on battleships.
No, that's not the problem.
What's the problem, Tox?
The problem is people are playing like idiots now.
They not played like idiots, buddy.
No.
They've always played like idiots.
Well, sure, but now they've got an excuse. Now they have an excuse for the idiocracy. Oh, I died because of effing Deadeye. That's why I died.
I need to go to the 10 line so my Deadeye can stay active, and I have to back up 6 kilometers so my dispersion is better, and they're going farther back than the buff gives them anyway. So they're making themselves work. There's a great forum thread at Edge who literally people are nerfing themselves by their mindsets, and their mindsets of how they're playing this skill is just wrong.
Slava's default.
Stupid people like me that stay at the back line anyway with this Thunderer. Why? Because that's what you do in a Thunderer. You sit in the back with the Thunder and the Yami. You take Deadeye. You set one more extra fire.
You don't have to, and that's the thing. Okay, you're right. Maybe I get one more shell hit with Deadeye. And you're right, maybe that means one more fire that gets set on the enemy team. But what you're not thinking about is the fact that your destroyers are dying literally in front of you because you're too busy shooting at a ship that's 20 kilometers away from you instead of the destroyer that's 12. That's the problem with this skill. And I disagree with people that are calling for it to be removed from the game. I think it's fine. My problem is that people don't understand how the hell to use it properly, and so what ends up happening is they sit in the backfield. Deadeye is the greatest thing that ever happened to me this season of Ranked.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing that happened to me because I play Destroyer, I play Z52, I get into the cap. You want to fight me? Fine. I'll pop my Hydro. I'll kill you. It's not gonna. It might take a little bit longer than some of the other ships, but I'll probably kill you if you're dumb enough to charge my Hydro. Great. Look, your enemy battleships are so far away they can't help. My battleships are far away either, but I can't help it. You know what? I don't care because I'm gonna win a 1v1 against you if you're gonna derp into my Hydro while I've got smoke active. That's the big difference. That's why this season of ranked has been so great for me this past week because of the commander change.
So many games in random battles now because we're capping out, because everybody sits so far in the back. You get the caps early and they just tick away and you win.
Precisely. I find destroyers more fun to play now with the new commander rework, because people are being very passive, and you have the handful of crazy destroyer commanders that will go in there and grab the cap, because cap points matter.
One game on a single cap.
Now,
every other cap wasn't even taken. It was one cap for the whole game, and we won by 1,000 points because it was ticking for like 15 minutes.
Right.
Precisely. I burned a speed boost to go into a cap, hit the island, sit there, capped out, backed out, and left, and went and gathered 2 other caps in the process. So I got 3 caps. I was the only person in cap, and everybody else was sitting behind islands or sitting on the back line, sniping each other.
This is a fantastic skill if you're a destroyer player, because what it means is, okay, maybe your teammates are playing in the back too. Who cares? What it means is you can go into a cap, you can own it, and you can destroy enemy destroyers that come nearby. And as long as you don't have a smart enemy cruiser player who realizes, hey, I can push up, and as long as I stay mobile, it's hard for me to be hit, well, they're fine. Now, a Des Moines that's sitting in the same position for the entire match, the typical Des Moines position, think of Loop, think of North, think of other things where you would see a Des Moines or a Petropavlovsk or a Moskva or Stalingrad. Deadeye, think of this as a significant nerf to that playstyle, because Deadeye is going to help the battleship hit those people. Okay. Whatever.
Well, I found Deadeye has helped me hit destroyers, because I shoot at destroyers in my battleships. I don't know why other people don't, but I do, even at long range. I found Deadeye has helped me because it's grouped my shells tighter together. And I'm getting more, yes, over pins, but still an extra 1,200 or 2,400 damage because I get an extra couple of shells in on you. Great.
I want you to think about this for a sec. Go ahead.
The whole thing... Yeah, no. Okay, the whole thing is like, the Deadeye is great in such situations, and the main point I think with this skill is you shouldn't change your playstyle because you have that skill. You play like you played it before, and if that means that skill is active, then it's great for you. But people make the mistake of going out of their way trying to make this skill active and actively hurting themselves by doing so.
Right. And honestly, go ahead.
There's also the consideration of how the meta has been changed by Deadeye. So if you notice, there's been a lot more Thunderers and Conquerors in the queue. And because of that, a lot of battleships have to stay away anyways, because Thunderers and Conquerors happen to counter every other battleship. So if they get close, they get burned down.
Right.
So it's not necessarily... So while they may not take Deadeye themselves or not be directly affected, everyone, because of the numerous ships that burn them down, they have to stay away.
Yep.
And the cruisers are going to follow suit, because they're also, if they get hit by Deadeye Thunderers, they're not going to do very well. So they have to stay back as well.
Well,
destroyers are less effective because, as you said, you can probably dodge 14, 15 kilometers anyways. So what happens is, what you saw in ranked, you just see destroyer duels. And as long as you're picking a destroyer that's effective against other destroyers, you win. You take the cap. No one takes it back because there's no destroyers to do it, and all the battleships are a million miles away.
Right.
So destroyer players are fine with it, as long as you can win your destroyer fight.
As long as you're playing the correct destroyer. Like, as a torpedo destroyer, this is awful.
Sure. Because you're playing a different game than what we just talked about, right?
Yeah. If you're playing a Smaland, you're celebrating.
Anything that's anti-destroyer build as a destroyer, a gunboat build destroyer, fine. Z-52, Smaland, sure. Radar Yu Yang, great, right? And cruiser players who understand pushing, who understand how to be with the team and to support their destroyers, you're going to win most of the time in ranked because of that. Especially if you're taking Torpedo Gunner and you're running a Des Moines.
Most cruisers players still have to be careful, because with that same calculation, the battleships will get better dispersion. So if you run into a Thunder or Slava that does know how to aim, or
Right.
you don't know, or you can't dodge effectively, then you get deleted.
Now, you just brought up the other good point of that SAT, which is a battleship player who knows how to aim. I think we all agree that there are battleship prodigies out there who can just look at you and shoot and delete you without even thinking too much about it, right? They're in a lot of clans. You instantly in your mind can think of those players. And it's very easy for the common player base to think, well, if they can do it, so can I. It doesn't work that way, guys. Maybe it'll work that way once in a long while, and you'll take a clip of it or you'll post it to YouTube and, oh, look at how I did. But the reality of it is that the most part, because this skill encourages players to sit farther back, I would rather sit back in my Slava at 20 kilometers because it's as if I'm 5 kilometers closer. Hey, that's great. I can still hit shells. Imagine if you were in a Slava and you were 5 kilometers closer anyways. What kind of power do you project as a battleship for locking down a cap, right? That's missing now because you're 5 kilometers away. And if you're playing a Russian, forget it, right? If you're playing as an American, there's a better option, and I'll show you that in a second, in my opinion. But
keep in mind that psychology also works for cruisers, because, like, yes, it might help the battleship, or it may not, but you don't want to be the guy to test to see if you don't want to be on the receiving end of a guy that you don't know who is good or not. You'd rather just play safe, right?
Yes. The other thing that makes Deadeye effective right now, is that you get a lot of cruiser players that don't think they need to dodge in the initial salvo when they're fired upon at the beginning of the game. How many of you guys have seen people in ranked, in Stalingrads, Yoshinos, whatever, lose half their health in the first salvo and then say, that never happens to me? If you've got good aim and you've got Deadeye, that's going to happen more often than not. So cruiser players need to learn to adapt. They need to learn to maneuver. Use that A and D key every now and then, maybe with a sprinkling of S as well. But as long as players continue to go in a straight line, Deadeye is going to seem like it's very effective. Plain and simple.
Well, something I learned the hard way.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes,
something I learned the hard way is that if I'm in my cruiser and I'm spotted, I'll almost guarantee you I'm going to get shot at. So what I do, change course, change speed. I'm anticipating being shot at because I got spotted.
Yep, Terrace Mark. Deadeye means Yamato's first salvo, devastating strikes. Yep, sure.
Yeah, I've been deleted. I got deleted to my anchorage patch day because I didn't take preemptive evasive action, and I got deleted by a Montana.
Right.
In one salvo because I didn't anticipate being shot at. I messed up and didn't take that preemptive dodging.
Incoming fire alert is gonna be a very good skill for cruisers.
The thing is,
just because of that.
Sure, but the thing is, you don't even need that. If they show up on the mini map, they fire at you.
It helps you.
Sure.
If you're spotted, expected to be shot at. You don't need priority target as a cruiser or any really destroyers especially. If you're spotted, you're going to be shot at. Just anticipate it and maneuver.
Yes and no, but
sort of. You're not going to always get shot at because people do have to train their guns and reload at some point.
The main issue with priority target is like I don't care about how many people are shooting at me. It's more to know who is not.
Mm-hmm.
But what I wanted to say about the Deadeye skill, maybe Cersei you can open up in game and go on a skill distribution for a battleship.
Sure.
And we do like a basic 10 point, or it's probably gonna be 14 point for a Deadeye captain.
Okay. So let's reset selection. This is a Slava. Now again, we agree this is the greatest impact on the game. Okay.
I think you already have an issue with battleships. I don't think there's a really good standout 1-point skill. But
I guess that I don't know.
It's kind of like, do you want to take your expert loader?
Right.
Well, we're also talking about a a non-secondary battleship too.
Yeah, we're looking specifically at a Deadeye battleship right
Okay,
now.
there's your Deadeye battleship.
You're
15 points
obviously
is
gonna take Concealment
15
Expert, right? Because it synergizes so well with the Deadeye. You want to get your concealment down.
Yep.
So you have your Deadeye active longer.
Yep.
So now comes the real issue is, you probably want to spec the rest into survivability. And what are the best survivability skills out there right now? With the
basic
change?
survivability and preventive maintenance. They help prevent your modules from being knocked out.
I wouldn't go preventative.
No,
Personally.
I was talking
that's
about the
pointless.
4-point skills. Like, what is better? Fire prevention, extra heal, or
Right.
basics of survivability? Because you
Okay.
can't take all of those skills anymore if you have Deadeye.
You can if
Emergency
at a
repair.
21-point build, yes.
Yeah.
Emergency repair over fire prevention.
No.
No.
Wrong.
Unless you're maybe a Russian battleship. On a Russian battleship, I can see it, but... Ugh.
Even then.
No, you want to burn less. Seriously,
Yeah.
that's so much more important.
I think the fire prevention is better because you probably burn down before you get the time to use your extra heal you would be getting with the repair expert.
The way to think about it is incoming damage versus what you can regenerate. If you can heal for an extra 15,000, whatever, like that's your final heal. But if you can prevent yourself from taking 50,000 damage from, say, 1 or 2 extra, maybe 3 extra sticky fires, like that is already way better.
So this
You
might
just
be
see it this way. Sorry.
this might be another noob trap. People that take this and think, well, now I have to stay dark until I can heal again, which takes them out of the battle even longer.
Yeah, the point is, in order to be actually able to use that additional heal, you need to be alive at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you also think too, the Montana is built to, especially with the legendary mod, to burn less anyway.
Yep. So
I think we can all agree that all these survival skills, like basic of survivability, fire prevention, and the extra repair, they synergize very well together. Like ideally you want to have all of them because they work so well. If you burn less, you stay alive longer and you can make use of the extra heal.
Yep.
It just comes down, if you're not able to take all of them, which combination of those skills is the most effective.
For most battleships, it'll be fire prevention, but there are some select battleships, like the British ones, that want that extra heal.
Yeah.
Conqueror,
By the way,
sure.
the same is, by the way, true if you're looking at secondary battleships, you're facing the same situation again with your survival skills in the end.
Pause on the secondary. Let's finish Deadeye first, because that's a whole nother topic.
Well, I guess we'll continue the battleship discussion next week then at this rate.
Well,
All right.
But the thing is, if you're not secondaries, aren't you staying back anyway?
If you
To be able to spread your
But you
fire
still
around?
might not want to have the Deadeye. Like,
All right.
and
that's
if you
what
don't
you
take the
Deadeye for.
Deadeye, you can take all of the survival skills again.
So I think we're ready to talk about secondary a little bit. And I grabbed
Don't do it
an
on French battleships. They're terrible right now.
well, hold on. I grabbed an Ohio for a reason. Because Murica and because secondaries.
It's not a secondary battleship.
Correct, it's not. But I have a thought, and I want to share this with you guys. And I want Toxic to tell me what he thinks about this.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm gonna redistribute my skills. The thing about secondary battleships is that yes, you could make the argument that they were nerfed because their accuracy isn't as good because of the change to manual fire control for secondaries, whatever the hell they want to call it these days. Where is it? Improved secondary battery aiming. This isn't the skill that you want to take. Okay? Personally, if I'm taking a battleship that's a secondary build, 1 point skill doesn't, whatever you want to take, I don't care.
I take Pyro, honestly, if I take a secondary
Sure,
battleship.
fine. Okay, we'll take Pyro. You're gonna probably take Turret Traverse for your secondary build, okay? And then you want to increase your secondary range. Now, this is the key part. You don't go into improved secondary battery aiming. No. You don't do that. You don't do that. What you do is you go into this skill, Close Quarters Expert. Toxic, would you like to explain why?
Okay. I was right. I made a prediction in chat before you started talking.
Because you and I know each other so damn well.
Yeah, we do. And okay, so you think of your secondaries not as a direct form of damage, which they never really have been if you sit back and actually look at it from a perspective of how the numbers all work out. What your secondaries now do is they make your main battery shoot faster. And
that's right.
That is how CQC works. And it makes your secondary shoot faster on the side, which is also nice. But having your main battery shoot faster is always better.
The idea here...
both of the 4-point skills, and if you don't have the 14 points, I wouldn't even bother going with the secondaries in the first place.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's my take on this.
I mean, if you suck at aiming to the point that you're not hitting stuff reliably inside of your secondary range, just Edge's comment, that's a you problem.
Then you shouldn't be playing battleships. Play cruisers so you can figure this game out. Seriously.
Just play co-op at that point.
I have been doing some
battles.
I've done some cheesing, and Masada just asked about it, and I already have an answer for you. So by messing around with some hilarity and adrenaline rush, on the GK you can get your 406 reload down to, and I did it with unique mods. You can get your reload down to about 20 seconds. That's like 5% HP, but you can get your GKs down to about 20. So call it like 22 realistically with the 406s. A little longer with the 420s, and then on stuff like the repub with the unique mod, which was the really funny one, I got my reload down to I think 13 seconds.
No.
Yes. I have pictures. Don't question me. I have pictures.
He's got the pictures to prove it. I've seen them.
19 seconds base with the
yes, and it's
How do you get
25% from Honore, and it's remember.
See a video of this. I've got to see a video of this. This is gonna be too.
How do you get 30? Like it's 19 seconds with the legendary, and then you take.
Right. I got a replay coming up that'll show this if we have time today. Trust me.
And with a John Bart on reload boost, it gets your reload, your intra clip, I don't know what else to call it at this point, down to about 7.7. And granted, these are all when you're on like 1,000 HP, but you can still, like, your reload becomes significantly faster when you combine it with Adrenaline Rush.
This is the thing that nobody's talking about. This is the thing that nobody understands. But you guys have to realize this. When you build secondaries, you're not building for your secondaries to do any damage. You're building for secondaries to give you 10% reload buff on your main damn guns. If you're a brawler battleship, you build secondary range. You build secondary range on your module if you want. And now if you've got a target that's within 11 kilometers, guess what? You shoot at them faster. Think about that.
The secondaries are always a complement to your primaries, not the other way around.
Right,
yes.
It's like having torpedoes on your battleships. It's not a main armament. It's a secondary armament, and you use it to do additional damage.
But what toxic...
Within that range, and guess what? You're within that range of your secondaries going off. Guess what? Your main guns are loading faster now because you took this skill.
What Toxic is saying, guys, is especially even with French battleships, you use the secondaries as an excuse to get your gunners to load the ammo faster. Like, that's it.
Like the prevent for French battleships because they have no armor. You have to go so close to get.
It's a top grade gunner battleship edition, basically.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right. You feed your French gunners more wine and cheese.
And as you're closer to the enemy, if you're within 12 kilometers, who gives a hell if Deadeye is not working or not? It's 10% concealment dispersion. Big freaking deal. You're right up their throats anyways.
You're right up their chuffs. So guess what? You're firing more rounds at them.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the build.
Spent to death.
This is the build that people aren't talking about. This is the thing that people aren't, not the pyrotechnician, I don't know. But these two together, this combination is game changing. If you like to play an aggressive battleship, if you like to be up there, now Your teammates may be in the back of the map, and maybe for them it feels better. Whatever. You're up there in the face. You're up there shooting Des Moines when they can't even angle to you because you overpen their bow and you citadel them, and you just laugh as they die 10% quicker because you've got this skill. That's it.
Now, how would Toxic finish out the build?
All right, let's talk about that. Tox, take me through an Ohio build.
I mean, fire prevention, I think, is a given if you wanted to run all of the same points.
Okay, so what's the first? What's a 1-point target?
That's kind of just up to you. I mean, if you're doing
reload
specifically,
faster, you switch shell types.
yeah, I would honestly do main better reload boost. No, sorry, expert loader, just because it's
Fine. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Move on. Second point.
Expert loader, expert marksman, just because, I mean, even if we are on Ohio, it's still better. Then we got secondary range, whatever that skill, LRSBS. Then we've got CQC. I'm gonna do this. Then we've got FP. How many points do we have left? 7. Then we've got probably concealment, and I would do. It's kind of a toss-up between Adrenaline Rush and basically survivability, but I would probably do Adrenaline Rush.
There you go.
Adrenaline Rush.
Yeah, especially on Ohio, because your heal cooldown is much faster.
There you go,
Adrenaline
guys.
Rush.
Yeah.
You can use that on a Georgia too.
Oh, I mean, Massachusetts, any of them. Sure. 100%.
Oklahoma.
Now you're trying us.
Hey,
Go
you
to
don't
Gulag.
need expert loader on that because you never shoot AP.
That's right.
I don't have an Ohio, but I don't like this build.
Why?
Well, how would it do a GK? Like, would it change it for a GK?
It's because it's weird hybrid mix between some sort of secondary and some sort of survivability. And I don't like this hybrid stuff.
Also,
Well,
no
that's
Deadeye.
what wargaming is give us as these kind of builds.
Like, you can do it, of course you can. I still think it's less effective than either going full secondaries or full survivability. But
I mean, what is even full secondaries at this point?
Doesn't matter. 35% to whichever side
but you
you've
definitely
clicked on.
take the dispersion for a full secondary build.
No.
Like, especially if you're doing it on a
messed with
German
that,
ship.
it doesn't do anything noticeable.
No. I want my
honestly.
guns
It
to
really
fire
doesn't.
quicker. I want my guns to fire quicker. That's what's going to win me the game.
You
Not my
take them
secondaries.
both.
And yeah, you
Take
can
them
honestly
both.
probably drop concealment expert. Like, if you
Yeah,
want it,
give it-
depending on what you're doing, you could do drop concealment expert and
Yeah,
get your
drop
better
concealment.
QRE for another heal.
You take this, you take the adrenaline rush, and then you have 21 points. That would be it.
Okay. Again.
That would be what I define as full secondary.
Again, this is the
That's a German
point
secondary battleship right there.
of the commander rework is you can do whatever the hell you want. If that's what you
I don't
want to
need
play,
manual.
then that's what you play. Guys, that's it. Plain and simple. Have fun with the game, for God's sakes. That's all.
We have until what, February 17th? So we get all the free respecs we want. Go in there and mess around. Try something different.
All right. SAT says at this point it's difficult to get into range. You're damn right. Okay. You've seen people. I'm gonna call out Potato Quality. He's shown a great job of how you use islands to get closer to the enemy so that you can use your secondaries. There you go, guys.
Yeah, I
The
mean, this sucks if
traditional-
you land on ocean. It
The
sucks if
traditional-
you have no islands.
Traditional build of secondary battleship where you just charge at the enemy out in the open and 5 people can shoot back at you and you open up with your secondaries and you win the battle. Guys, that's gone.
You're dead.
That's
And you got
gone.
5 secondary hits. Good job.
That's gone.
But
Again,
speaking of potato quality, I was in a game with him with my Flint, and he was in a Georgia. And so what I did for him was I dropped smoke for him. So he would sit not shooting his main guns, but his secondary inside my smoke screen.
team play? How dare you?
You know, I know how dare I help somebody who's a Unicron player play better.
You should have team killed him.
Yeah, and try.
Yep,
but
reported.
the problem is,
No,
if you try to do this for a random battleship
you-
player, it's not gonna work.
You team kill him to kill his PR. That's why you team kill him, right, SAT?
Well,
Yes.
well, see, I didn't realize it was him per se until I actually looked at the name above the ship.
All right. Well, whatever. But
had people and smoke ships drop smoke for me for my Massachusetts and my Georgia. So
in
I
any
can sit
case,
in there shooting.
In any case, guys, Deadeye is not the end-all be-all skill of the Battleship rework, okay? I'm just telling you this like it is. In my personal opinion, you're far better off going with secondary range and close quarters combat, and then whatever, okay? Obviously, concealment. If I was to do this personally, if I was to take a battleship to start, preventative maintenance is only good if I've got a battleship with torpedoes. That's a Gneisenau and the German premiums, right? Odin, whatever.
And if you have battleships with very weak turrets, like a Chambord, for example.
Right. Absolutely, okay? For the most part, I'm probably going for gun feeder, okay? You could make the argument for emergency repair specialist as well, although 3% is quite low. What the hell?
It's 2 seconds what it gives you. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Ugh, it feels bad
Yes.
to take it, but if you want to look at your survivability skills, this is the best survivability skill at tier 1 you have.
Correct.
But it feels bad to take it.
Correct. At tier 2, grease the gears or priority target, one of the two. Either way, it doesn't matter. Okay? Pick what you want, pick what matters to you, the player. Then you go for secondary range, then you go for concealment, then you go for close quarters. There you go. Guys, that's a 14-point commander. That's all you need to be competitive, going back to our earlier discussion.
Look at your basic secondary range, though. If that's a battleship with a crap secondary range, if you're looking at some mid-tier stuff, then obviously you don't do this build.
Sure.
Like, I don't know off my head, but what's the secondary range of a New Mexico or a Colorado?
Let's
It's probably
take a look.
Not great, right?
Not
Let's
very
take
high.
a look.
No, not at all. Like, you wouldn't. This is for high tiers.
Let's take a look, because
Although
I
Charles Martel now gets like 8.5 kilometer secondaries.
just happen to have a 19-point commander on my New Mexico, guys.
Like 6 kilometers.
7.5.
I mean,
concerned.
Not getting...
I'm kind of
But-
concerned by the combination 19-point captain in New Mexico.
I ran out of things to put 19-pointer on SAT, and I didn't want to just duplicate all of my high-tier stuff, so sorry.
That only raises more questions.
SAS has too much commanders and too much commander XP. That's what it comes down to.
My nickname is Smog. Get over it. I don't know what to say.
I'm pretty sure he had more
This is the
19-point
kind of
commanders
captain
than I
that
have
a normal
ships.
player is probably gonna dismiss if he had it, because he really doesn't need it.
Right. But I have 19 pointers because why not? I think I have a 19 pointer on my Clemson too. But anyway, but again, this only really works in conjunction with this. If you're not willing to invest 7 points into the build, well, you're better off going basic survivability or adrenaline rush, one of the two of them, and concealment. That's your core skeleton build for battleships. Right?
Can make the argument whether fire prevention or concealment is better, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's it. I don't know what else to say, guys. But, like, the feeling that you have to have a 21-pointer to be even competitive, it's ridiculous. Don't feel that way.
404 is now following.
It's you, the player, that matters the most. And it's what you do with the positioning, it's what you do with your aiming, it's what you do with your target selection, it's what you do with your ammo selection.
123 is now following.
It's what you do with your prioritization of targets, it's what you do when you discover enemy destroyers. That's all that wins the game, guys. It doesn't have anything to do with, oh, I have Deadeye, I can win the game. It has nothing to do with that. Maybe.
Wait, that's not how Deadeye works?
No. Only for you, Puddin'.
I'll be right back, Zath. I gotta do a quick reset. My computer's starting to be silly.
Alright. Missed a lot. Is the emergency repair expert good or bad? Only good, in my opinion, if you've got a boosted repair party. Or boosted... You could make the argument for, like, a Georgia. Maybe?
Faster cooldown.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it's basically the superintendent replacement, right? If you live long enough in a game to make use of an extra heal, or if you're in a Russian battleship that has limited DCPs as well,
Yep.
then yeah, the skill is good.
Weekend Warrior?
If you
Sorry.
go secondaries and you die 10 minutes of the battle anyway, and because you get focused down, then the skill is not good.
Weekend Warrior says, if you reset all skills on the World of Warships website, how long do we have to pick new ones? Till whenever the hell you feel like picking them, man. I mean, you can... I still have... Well, now that the rework's hit, doesn't matter, but... You've got until whenever you choose to play that particular ship, like maybe it's Pensacola, maybe it's New Orleans. You have until you decide to play that game, that ship in battle to spec out your captains. So I always recommend you either use that skill right away to blanket reset all your captains, or you wait until a day or two before the end of the patch, and then you use that respec. One or the other, but don't feel like you have to wait and see what all the quote-unquote unicorns are telling you to play with. Play with the skills you think are going to be useful, and you get the ability to reset skills for free for this entire patch. Experiment, play, find what works best for you. One of my
you see,
favorite...
there is not a consensus between us in the Discord here right now. What's the best way to do it? Like, so just listening to one player is not gonna help you, because that player doesn't need to be right about what he's talking.
Right. One of my favorite experiences was ranking out in the Kyiv at tier 7. This is before the Russian destroyer change, and everybody immediately judging me because I had a Kyiv, when certain community contributors said that the Kyiv was garbage tier for ranked. But you know what? I made it work for me. And I ranked out, and I had fun. I hate to say it. I had fun playing ranked in that particular ship. But certain community contributors said it was a D rank. Don't take this. This hurts your team. You know what? I made it work for me. Guys, you can make anything work for you if it goes with your particular playstyle. And this commander respec makes it so that more of your playstyles are relevant. That's the coolest part about this experience, guys. Go for fun, Deadliest says. I know, right, Panto? Yes, I had fun. I had fun.
Yes, take this
Tier
opportunity.
7 here was so great.
Are we ready to talk about carriers?
Before you do, hello, Zath.
Oh my goodness, that's a sound I haven't heard for a long time. What?
Toxic. Your SAT score, Puddin'. How you guys doing?
Holy crap, it's Scheist, everybody. Say hi to Scheist. How are you, dude?
Hi, Scheist.
Guys, this is what matters. Your friendships with players in game. Who the hell cares about commander rework? How you doing, man?
I am exploring the very topic you are discussing.
Excellent.
Deadeye?
Deadeye secondary battleship?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm very sad that I did not finish the campaign for the ship they just took away.
Frostborg.
Oh, I
You're not
finished
missing
it
much.
to be able to finish the second campaign, and like I said last week, I have to take back my criticism about how short of a time you had, because it was stupidly easy to finish.
You're not missing much. Don't worry.
You're not missing much. You're missing nothing more than a baby John Bart.
Yeah, but I'm missing a ship. That's a
Yeah.
Well, it's like the anchor. It's like, well, you can still buy it. Unlike the Anchorage, unlike the Puerto Rico.
But you don't. You really don't buy a Strasbourg.
Buying it is like
No, you
losing a
don't.
war.
Why I didn't fall for that money trap that Wargaming gave out to everybody.
Okay, while we're talking about money traps, guys, let's be clear about the rework. The rework is there as a designation to extract currency from players, namely credits and elite and doubloons. Okay. And
Elite Commander XP.
And Elite Commander XP if you want to buff them up to 21. Okay, those are the three things. Now, for players that are like, oh my god, what are you doing? Like, for players like that, guys, you need to understand, when Research Bureau hit, Research Bureau was designed to do the same damn thing. To extract credits, to extract free XP, and to a certain extent doubloons from players as well, in order to get their Colbert, in order to get their Ohio, and whatever the hell else. What is it? Paulo? That's how it works, guys.
Didn't they find that it didn't work so well, so that's the reason why they're giving away research points?
Well, no. I don't necessarily agree with that idea. So, from Wargaming's perspective, you have to think about this. Okay? They've got players that have a ton of Elite Commander XP. They've got players with a ton of free XP. They've got players with a ton of doubloons sitting around doing nothing. How do we get players to spend that? Well, they tried permacamos, and it was somewhat successful, right? They tried...
created another problem, though, but it's a different story.
Well, I'm a very big advocate of having a permanent camo on your championship.
Okay, fair. But what I'm getting at is that not everybody bought into that. I sure didn't. I kept my doubloons. I said, screw you. I'm holding on to my 837,000 doubloons. I don't even know how much that is in real dollars, and I'm almost afraid to find out, okay? But the point of the matter is, Wargaming wants you to spend your in-game currencies, because it's doing nothing for them to just be sitting there. So they want you to spend your doubloons. They want you to spend your free XP. They want you to spend your bloody Commander XP. Because they know that if you do that, then they got you. Right? They got you because now you have to go and you have to grind up from a 19 to 21 commander. Oh god, oh the humanity. Grind? No way, I don't grind in this game. I've got all this stuff. Why would I grind?
Grinding is fun. You get to relearn the game. That's what I did whenever this commander rework came out, is I grabbed low tier ships that I hadn't bothered to say the Russian battleship line. And started messing around and learning how these new skills all work at low tier.
This is how
apply that knowledge to the high tier stuff.
This is how the rework is designed, guys. It's designed to extract stuff that you've already put in the game. I agree with what other community contributors said. It's ridiculous to think that I need to spend $100 to redistribute a 21-point commander with doubloons. I get that. Not redistribute. I'm sorry. To dispose of a 21-point commander and have that converted to Elite Commander XP. I completely get that. I completely agree with it. But they're not targeting you, the player, that's going to spend real money to get the doubloons to do that. They're targeting me, the smog, who's got all of those doubloons sitting there. And you know what my response to Wargaming is? Hell with you, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. That's it.
No, you're not.
I have some pepper.
You're not sorry.
I have some pepper for you to go with all your salt.
I don't blame you.
All right, moving on. Shall we talk about...
I burn the camos with my doubloons.
Shall we talk about carrier builds?
Carrier, yay! Everybody's fun police.
I like carriers.
Gross.
I don't think there is there is a dedicated noob trap in here. There's one skill that is...
Oh, there's a noob trap.
Maybe not working as it should work.
I think it works
perfectly. That's the hidden menace one.
What's the noob?
Perfectly.
What's the noob trap?
Like a hidden menace is a skill that people will maybe take and then lose all their planes for it, because unfortunately with that skill, maybe you can hover over it, Sass.
There it is.
People can't see it. Your bit cup is in the way.
Oh, how dare my bit cup be in the way? Fine.
So that skill's downside is 50% reduced time for your planes to get back to your ship. And currently in the game, this 50% increased time also applies to the time the planes are actually climbing into the safety after you recall them. And if you do that within any AA range of a ship, this will result to them basically all getting shot down because it takes so long.
And it's amazing.
Now, I'm not sure if it's intended, if it's a noob trap, but if you take this skill, You 100% have to make sure that they are outside of any AA when you recall your planes, or they will be gone.
So, Deadliest, why is this a thing? It's there to make it so that it's more difficult for players to react to you, because you have that 10% dispersion, like Concealment Expert. You've got that extra, actually 15, sorry.
Yeah, it's 15. They buffed in that way. It's that
Yeah.
CV can get closer to the battle and have a quicker recycle time for their planes when they can attack. Like, it takes... Like, if you sit at 15 kilometers, it takes less time to reach your target than when you're sitting at 20.
Yep.
For example.
It allows for aggressive CV positioning.
This is really good on the Audacious, for example.
But the main issue is, like, with all the Deadeye right now going on, and like it's still, if you go closer, it's still kind of easy to get spotted by the enemy CV, and then everybody will shoot at you. So your CV body still needs to be in a safe spot where you can't get shot at. And a lot of maps don't have safe spots that are close enough to make really use of it.
Yep.
Well, you possibly could, but the thing is getting spotted.
Yeah,
autopilot.
You're getting shot at.
You can get into
Hey,
true enemy.
Great.
Can I ask a quick question? Because I've been watching all the YouTube videos that you've been putting up, and the ones that Zook's been putting up, Zath. I know a lot of these commander skill points are set up to trap freaking idiots, but
we all?
But how long did they say we had to do this, to redistribute all these captain points? Because I got
February 17th.
I got a lot of captains.
February 17th.
The whole duration of this patch.
Now, my recommendation is not to spec all your captains, by the way, Scheist. My recommendation is to play with a spec, and if you like the spec, screenshot this sucker and put it into a folder and go back to it later and then redistribute your captain again.
Can I just go to all the captains and hit redistribute and take all their points down to 0? Because I just logged into a captain that still
There's
had
a website.
Points.
Yeah, there's a button on the website. It does it all for you for every single captain.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Your screen is frozen.
Yeah.
My okay, I'm having some issues with my webcam. So there you go.
Not just the web.
The other question I had was, one of the videos I saw said that they nerfed the crap out of secondaries.
Yep.
For battleships, so it's kind of pointless to try to buff your secondaries now.
Nope, it is definitely pointless.
He's got a good point. We just went over that.
Okay, so
put it in the chat. Take a look.
You might.
You have to scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Watch the VOD again and watch the last 20 minutes. I think we talked excessively about secondary battleship specs there.
Yep. All right.
Was that the hour-and-a-half one that you put up the other day?
No, I literally recorded it now today.
Today we were talking about it literally half an hour ago.
Okay, you'll post that to YouTube, right, Zath, so I can watch it later?
Oh yes.
All right, I'll check it out tonight.
Cool.
I might be the 8th viewer for you.
No, it's fine. It won't be posted to YouTube till later this week. So, I mean, you can watch it on the VOD again. If you go to twitch.tv/LordZath, you can watch it again. Sure. No problem.
So yeah, I think that's the only real noob trap. I'm not big of any secondary specs on carriers, so you might want to take this too, but...
Hidden Menace is not even a noob trap because no one takes it.
I was thinking about taking it with a legendary mod Audacious, but I tried this prior to the rework with the old Concealment Expert in the European server, and I just didn't like it, so I'm not even trying. Like, I don't trying it now because like Hidden Menace is just really, really bad.
Yep.
I wouldn't even take
Concealment.
Concealment.
It didn't work. He lost so many planes. He did not get good damage at all. And it's 9.3. Like, he was right up to the cap with me in a DD with his Audacious. It just, he didn't like the build at all. He felt so ineffective.
Yeah, I don't think I like it either. So
what are we talking
I
about?
can see if at any point we're getting back to an 1v1 at tier 8 and you want to take a secondary spec graph Zeppelin, then I would probably take it. But that's the only thing.
Okay. So what are the core builds? What's the core build 10 points for carrier?
9 points.
9?
I think the core build is 9 points. Yeah, you take air supremacy, you
Okay.
take the plane speed.
This one, improved engines.
Yeah, and then you take the 2 tier 3 skills, you take survivability, expert, and aircraft armor. That
Okay.
is core 9 points for pretty much any CV, because that's the skill that lets your CVs, your planes stay alive.
Okay.
And after that, there is no real core build anymore, because you're buffing different types of planes afterwards, and what type of planes you want to buff depends on the carrier itself.
Fair.
You should probably buff the plane type you deal the most damage with, and that is different for every nation and every CV.
I know we were talking about the other day Indomitable, for example. That's a ship where, you know, for that it might be bombers, it might be.
Yeah. I played the Indomitable. I had a build I liked, so I take for Royal Navy CVs I take Demolition Expert because they rely on dots a lot, and I want to buff that, so that would be something for the Indomitable. The bomber flight control is obviously for the Indomitable. You have no torpedoes, so
Right.
there's no point in buffing them, and then you need Last Gasp for the Indomitable.
The
Like
diamond.
the 1 point skills are pretty good there. Improved engine boost and Last Gasp. And you can take all these and you're sitting at, I think, 18 points if my math is correct. And
Yep.
I mean, side
18.
stabilization isn't great, but I would take it as my last 3 points on an Indomitable, because if you don't want it, you could take something for an extra fighter consumable to help your team with spotting and protecting a little bit.
Sure.
I heard someone talk about making a complete air superiority build on an Indomitable because the planes are so fast and they can get everywhere real quick. I haven't tried it personally, but it's definitely a possibility.
So that means going
Possibility.
down this side
Yes.
and then
I
filling in
wouldn't do
to
this
taste.
for anything else besides an Enterprise and maybe an Indomitable. Or competitive play.
So something like that.
But yeah, for example.
Don't take Interceptor in competitive. You need that spotting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's just a random build to screw up with the enemy CV and kill the planes.
The
Just not
actual the actual fighters shooting down plane skill is the 4th one, enhanced reactions.
Yeah.
I've been seeing carriers it's actually been quite fun to watch in random battles. Carriers intentionally dropping fighters directly on top of enemy aircraft squads, and it, by the looks of it, it works on it works on the slower carriers. Like if you can do it on an FDR squadrons, and they will latch every single time.
Yeah. It requires some practice with the correct timings of when and where you drop the fighters.
Yeah, but you can sort of do a sort of trolly fighter shoot down the enemy carrier and be annoying type thing again.
Like, this is nothing you take yourself on something like the Friedrich or so, because your planes are too slow, you're not getting where you need to be. But if your planes are either fast, or we're talking about huge squadron sizes of fighters, like the Enterprise has. Because the whole point here is, fighters shoot down attacking planes at a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have 5 fighters, they will shoot down 5 planes.
How big can you get the Enterprise fighter circle down?
It's about
I don't know how.
seven-ish.
I don't have the Enterprise. I don't know, but you get
hilarious.
10 or 11 fighters in it, so the area seems to be pretty close, pretty big.
Wow.
Like, what did you say? Like 4 squares big?
It's listed in the game now. Actually, you
Is
can
it?
see the fighter radius. Yeah, it was one of the changes in the UI.
Well, I haven't looked at this. Let me see this. Where do you see it in the UI?
I think if you hover over in your Zap, if you go to consumables on your midway, open the equipment tab, and hover over the fighters on one of your plane types.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
action radius. So if you have the action radius is pretty much dependent.
Zap,
on
you
how
have
many
you have
planes
an
you have.
Enterprise, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Go-
You guys
go
want to
ahead.
look at Enterprise, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious.
There you go. 3.6 kilometer action radius.
Oh, that's kind of lame.
Spec it out. Spec it out though for the.
Okay.
Kind kind of thought it would be higher.
Let's grab some
thought so,
Halsey
too.
action.
Did they nerf the Enterprise with this? Take Ovechkin, it's better than Halsey on a carrier.
Fine. Okay, what am I looking for?
Just take the right skills, all of them.
Oh. Okay. And
That's
master.
it. For the test, you don't need to spec the rest out.
Cool. So I've mastered them. 4.36 kilometer radius.
It's 10 fighters, so if an enemy enters it with a squadron of 9 planes, you will shoot down all of the 9 planes.
In your 8.7 kilometer circle.
That's right, because this diameter versus radius. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
It's yeah. Because the that's what she said, right? But yeah, for speccing the carriers in general, what you want to look is you want to closely inspect your post-battle stats, and you take notes. What do you do your damage with? If it's torpedoes, for the most part, you spec your CV for torpedoes. If it's bombers, you spec your CV for bombers.
But then that also depends on the CV that you're playing plus the enemies you're playing against.
Kind of, but like if you play enough games, that equals it out. Like you get a pretty good average.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, personally, my Hakiryu is gonna be spec for torpedoes. My Audacious is also gonna spec for torpedoes, to my surprise, but I do most of my damage with torpedoes. Rough Zeppelin would obviously be spec for torpedoes.
Kaga.
My Midway would be spec for bombs. My Richthofen, like I wouldn't play it anymore because I think it's really bad now, but I'll still spec it for bombs and the rockets and not for the torpedoes. Lexington, I'm not sure at. I tried a torpedo spec, it didn't work out well, but I've only played it once, so maybe I just had bad luck there.
Lady Alexa, I would definitely put for bombs. She's also my favorite ship in the game, but that's just because I like how she looks.
The whole issue, like you really have to make choices with the carriers, probably more so than with any other class. Like there's so many useful skills. Like obviously you would want the bomb speed and the roost, or how is it called now? Proximity fuse talent. Like if you have that type of armament, you would want the skill to buff it, but it's just not possible anymore.
Yeah.
And my general philosophy is like you buff your strengths and instead of going for compensating weaknesses.
Yep, absolutely.
And
yeah, specialize.
Be encouraged to try out the interceptor build. Maybe you will like it. It's no harm in trying it out.
No?
I mean, the harm is you might lose a game or two because of it. It's not the end of the world.
Actually, carrier skill related. Is the flak skill a noob trap?
The flak skill.
Yes, unless you're playing an FDR.
Where's the flak skill? I'm sorry.
4
it's
points.
the recommended one in the fourth line.
This one?
4/4.
It's a trap because flak is completely dodgeable. Unless you're playing an FDR because the planes are so slow. You should be able to react to the flag, alternate your speeds and directions to not get hit by it. The exceptions for it are FDR because the planes are so slow, you can't react in time. And if you take so much flag, if you fly into like 5 enemy ships at once. But that's a mistake on your part. And if you do that, that skill won't help you either.
And as a final note, even if you do hit flak, you can usually just heal it up.
With torp bombers. Not every plane type has a heal.
Well, there are some with heals for their bombers, but yes, otherwise it's not a very good skill. Like, it actually works better if you're a noob that don't know how to dodge flak yet in FDR. but once you get better, then it becomes a noob trap.
Yeah, you should be dodging the flak in the first place.
It will do absolutely nothing if you run into DFAA flak, because 25% of way more than any of your planes have HP is that.
Because it's still gonna die, right? That's another thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the obvious question: how do you dodge flank?
With your eyes closed.
So how you dodge flak? What flak basically does is it takes your current speed and heading of your planes into account, and the AA of the ship will shoot the flak according to that. So it predicts where you will be within the next 2 seconds.
Okay.
So if you just alternate your speed, either using the speed boost to speed up or braking to slow down, as well as maneuvering left and right, or initiating the drop, which will make the torpedoes dive down or the dive bombers go up, it changes the altitude. And all of those things will make the flak miss.
Okay. So in other words, WASD.
WASD, right.
Wow.
And spawn the flak in such a way that you can just dodge it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, guys. Does anybody have any other questions to ask the panel? I mean, Grunty's been up. This is what, it's 11 p.m. your time now, 2300.
Yeah.
So
Not late for me, but
but you said you were watching football.
I'm still doing that in the background.
Okay, there you go. Deadly says, what does the accuracy of flak rating actually mean?
The accuracy setting for all AA stuff was... okay, for continuous AA, it's just a damage multiplier. It's used just for balancing stuff. For the flak, it actually does something, but actually does not. Is separated in 2 types. There is an inner flak and there is an outer flak, which you can basically like, let's just imagine you look at the skill tree like it is there, and then you take the inner 4 skills, that would be the width of the inner flak, and the outer 2 skills on this line would be the outer flak. And out of all the flak buffs that are shoot on each ship, like let's say if a ship has 5 flak buffs, there will always be 4 in the inner and 1 will go in the outer section. And that's the reality. In theory, this is based on the flak accuracy. Like it says like 90% of the flak will be in the inner section, 10% will be in the outer, if it's 90%.
Mm-hmm.
But there will always be 1 in the outer, and unless the accuracy would be below 75% on some ships, the relation would not skip, like that you only had like 4 in the inner and 2 in the outer. That could be the case if we're dropping below a certain threshold in the accuracy, but no ship in the game currently has this. So all you need to know about this accuracy setting right now is a maximum of 6 flak puffs can be in the inner setting. If a ship has more than 6, all the remaining ones will be in the outside. And the other thing you need to notice, at least 1 of the puffs will be on the outside, except a ship only has 1 puff of flak, then it will be inner.
So,
but if it has 2, that means 1 inner, 1 outer. If it has 3, 2 inner, 1 outer.
So
you can basically forget about the probability setting if you just remember this.
So like Jeddah says, Austin can have up to 13 flak puffs. So in that case, up to 6 are inner, but the rest of them are outside, right?
Yes.
Which means it doesn't matter. 6 is the magic number, right?
I mean, it matters if you do a complete 90-degree turn, then you might hit the outer flak again.
But for most people, 6 is the magic number. So if I'm building Austin, I only care about 6.
The magic number is technically 7, because with 7 you have 6 inner and 1 outer.
Okay.
If you go over 7, then everything else will just be additional outer. You're not getting an additional inner.
Okay. There you go. All right, so guys, we're coming up on an hour and 50 minutes left. I know some of you guys want to get to replays, but I know some of you guys have some questions. I saw a question in chat about a kiting cruiser build. So I grabbed it Henri because I think you guys would agree that's a good kiting cruiser. Yes?
Yep.
So a kiting cruiser build. Now, a kiting cruiser, you're always going to be looking at the same target. This is Charles Henri, and thank you, Toxic, for suggesting the idea of putting Henri on your Henri, because why not? So in that situation, it might be a good idea, instead of taking Grease the Gears, because if you're a kiting cruiser, your turrets are always in the same direction. You don't need Expert Marksman. Grease the Gears, maybe Last Stand will be good. And...
No, I would take Grease the Gears on the Henry. The turret traverse is so bad.
Okay, fine. Let's do it. Priority
Yeah,
target.
I'll turn your turrets on the Henry if you don't do it, and you don't want to do that.
Fair enough. Adrenaline Rush, Concealment, I think you guys would agree that's kind of like your basic skeleton build, right?
I'm gonna take the concealment. Like, I'll be honest, if we're talking specifically Henry Kiting Cruiser, I would go for the meme build. I'll go for the noob trap on the Henry Kiting Cruiser.
Okay. So that would be Heavy HE and SAP and Top Grade Gunner. And
Yes.
then what? And then what?
How many have you left?
6. Technically up to 8.
Superintendent.
Superintendent, Pyrotechnician, maybe? I don't know.
What? Revan?
The one that increases action time for your engines.
I don't think you need that because you have 4 charges of the speed boost and
You
they
also have
last so long already. But you could.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's necessary. Then again, the Pyrotechnician isn't great either.
Right.
You could also take the AA skill.
I was gonna say AA.
Okay.
I would honestly take the AA and I would take incoming fire alert.
The correct answer is you would take outnumbered if the skill was designed properly.
Instead of the consumables or like this would be my build.
Mm-hmm.
I would take it depending on if it was designed properly.
Yeah. If it did what it was supposed to do in the way that it's designed, then yeah, maybe.
But again, I would want to just say, this is not a generic kiting cruiser build. This is a Henry build.
For any other kiting cruiser, you would run Concealment Expert. You wouldn't double down on your overwhelming detection meme.
Thanks, Leon. Okay. Are there other builds you guys want to talk about quickly? Because if so, we can definitely talk about those. And then I have to ask you guys a really important decision. Do a review of the 2 new Pan-Asian ships that have been released, or get into replays.
2?
2.
If we talk about builds, we're gonna be here all day.
What does a Hindi build look like? All right. Jedi says and this goes along with Deadliest, a having fun farming build. Okay. So that would mean Hindenburg.
This is the having fun farming build that we just had on the Henry. That's the I have fun farming ships for days build.
Right. But if we absolutely...
Just make sure you dodge.
If we absolutely have to play on a German ship, though, let's find a German. Where do they go? Fine, let's just do this. German. Why is Hindenburg not a primary ship? It's a primary ship. It's a good ship. Okay, so here's our Hindenburg. What do we pick?
Like expert loader for a Hindenburg.
Okay.
Switching ammo's a lot in it.
Priority target.
I would only go for expert loader if the captain made it 75% instead of 50.
What would you go otherwise?
Who does it?
Grease the gears?
I would not do it at all.
Grease the gears?
Grease the gears is okay. There's not really much necessary 1-point skills for Hindi, though.
I see, that's why I took the loader. Like,
okay.
The turret traverse isn't bad on the Hindenburg. So.
Well, you pick whichever one you want. That's fair. Priority target, I think you guys did good as the tier 2 skill. And then a tier 3, Adrenaline Rush?
Superintendent. Extra heal.
Okay, Superintendent. Then what next? Top Grade Gunner? Noob Trap?
First, I'd say. I'd say Concealment Expert first.
Okay.
A quick thing about Superintendent, Hindi already comes with 1 extra heal, so it's not necessary to have to take Superintendent.
That's true.
Let's drop that for a minute. Let's go with Adrenaline Rush. Concealment, top grade gunner, heavy, because I think if we're doing a I just want to farm build, that's what we're going to do. So now we have 4 points
We're
left.
running into the same build as we just had on the hand, I think. This looks awfully familiar.
Does the rune also get this extra heal though? Like if
No.
you're working your way up.
I was gonna say, does it matter? It's a rune.
Hindenburg has very strong AA. I like having AA skills on the Hindenburg.
Rune won't get the extra heal, but you really don't need to take Superintendent first because ships up until tier 9 will not have heal.
Okay.
You're already seeing we're struggling to fill out the last points. It's just you don't need 21 points.
Yeah, we're at like, yeah, you really don't. Like,
we're getting into territory where the skills are minor effective or might have minor effects.
Yeah, but I mean, even with Superintendent, you get that extra hydro, which means you can be a little bit more liberal usage of it.
You play a long range farming kiting Hindenburg. You're taking defensive fire over hydro, and I don't care that you have German hydro. If you're playing long range kiting ships, you're not taking hydro anymore.
Right.
Well, I mean, then it gives you access to another defensive fire.
The most you're getting is that extra heal.
Cartane, you're correct. New people take the captain with them as they grind a line. One of the things that we talked about is that with this respec, you're better off leaving that captain on the ship that they worked on, assuming it's tier 6 and up, and starting a new captain for each new ship.
the problem with that is new captains are expensive now.
That is true. So you're screwed no
It's
matter
all
what.
intentionally done. Like,
Well, you have like me that has been using 1 captain per ship and have almost 30 extra captains sitting in reserves.
I realize that my experience is different from new players. Absolutely.
On the bright side, Wargame does give you the ability to buy 6-point and 10-point captains. That's much better than the old 1 and 3.
Yeah, the 10 point is probably not worth it for doubloons. The 6 point for 900,000 credits is. I mean, it depends. If you are staffed on credits, you're probably gonna hate it. But if you have hundreds of millions of credits, then it's better than before.
If you need a new captain for a new line, you're taking the 6 points.
Or you're buying a special captain during an event for tokens or whatever they call those damn things, and then you're putting it on the ship, which is fine too.
You should never buy a plain 1500 commander if you haven't bought all the like John Does and stuff out of the armory for 1500 before.
Yeah.
Special and unique commanders go first for 10 points.
Yeah, and they went up in value because of how you can use it on ships compared to prior.
Did they increase the price, or is it still the same?
Still the same.
Same.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I can buy
Before
Dasha
the
for.
rework there.
They were 1500. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd rather buy a Dasha than the basic 10-point commander for 1500s. I like Dasha commanders.
But are they worth it is the question.
I
mean,
if we
it's Dasha.
if you discount aesthetics, not really.
I mean, honestly, if you want to min-max this, and if you're a free-to-play player, your best pick is to buy whatever you can get with credits and just grind them up. Who cares? 10-point captains come pretty quickly anyways, if you're a good enough player. If you're a bad enough player, well, it'll take you a little bit longer. Okay, big deal.
10 points is 183,000 commander XP.
3 games.
Thing about this too is you can also get the flags in the armory to give you extra commander XP.
Iron says, I sucks.
You can get those for either credits or coal.
It does depend if you have premium deadliest, that's true. Alright, do you guys want to see any other commander builds? We've been talking for 2 hours plus about commanders. And I'd be very happy to talk through more of that, but I have a feeling you guys might want to see some replays at this point. Deadly says, bring on the death fix.
Again, in my spreadsheet, I have a couple of builds already completely filled out and tested with links on the Vows FT side, with ship upgrades and everything. There are not a lot of them right now because I haven't tested a lot of them, but a lot of carriers are in there already and some of the destroyers. It's gonna be growing over time when I actually have proper testing sessions and can confirm that a build is working. I will add it with the link.
That works. All right, so I'm gonna put up a poll while we continue talking about this. I want you guys to tell me what you want to see. What do you want me to spend the next hour and 30 minutes on, whatever?
I do have a Colorado ship replay that I think I spent points on.
You did spend points on. A bunch of people.
I play a Colorado.
How a captain gets specialized for a tech ship casters. So if I've got a ship that I want to put, so you take your ship and then you go here, you go to change commander or whatever it is, and then you grab the commander you want, and then you say, I want to spend elite commander XP, I want to spend doubloons, I want to spend training, whichever one of these you want to do, and then you say yes. Okay, that's how you do it. Oh, we haven't even talked about the Wu Jiang. It's just the Mysore or the Fen Yang so far, SAT. We can't really talk much about the Wu Jing or the whatever the independence.
I mean,
bonus.
the Wu Jing is just an all sauce, and the Senzang is just a saipan. Like that there. There's your ship review. Done. Next.
Yeah, that's it.
Reskins.
I mean,
pay money for skins for boats you can already get.
Yeah, they're just reskins. Same chips.
Auto version 2.
It's Wargaming collaborating with Journey with the West.
Oh my god, you guys are like dead even right now, though.
Anyway, I'm heading out. Thanks for having me, Thas.
Yes, of course,
great rest
Grunty.
of your stream.
Oh, Mysore. Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that one was reviewable now.
Mysore and Fen Yang, yes.
Yeah, goodbye.
I'll see you, Grunty. Thank you
Goodbye.
again for
Have a
hanging
good
out
one.
with us.
Take care.
It's 11:30 at night for Grunty, so very much appreciate that he took the time to hang out with us. Felipe with all the commander stuff, just this guy eating popcorn. Yeah, I can see that. I guess for me, it's just play the game, enjoy the game for what it is, learn from it, and share with each other how your experiences worked. And don't worry, the Unicum carrier, well, Unicum whatever players will have their builds and they'll post them, and then you can choose to keep them or not. And that's it. There's a great example.
People spend money on a game. Thank them for keeping this game free to play.
I mean, there's a great example of like Grunty. If I were to show him my Z52 build that I played in ranked, I would probably trigger him. But you know what? It worked for me.
The most important thing is to understand the skills in your build and why you're taking them.
That's right. Deadliest, I've had dirty water for a while now, man. There's no coming back.